We need to build a wall, and it has to be built quickly.
.906 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We're all excited behind the scenes. I don't know if you know this, but Sam is in the producer studio with Mason, and we're all jibber jabbering about the snow.
A little bit excited.
It's going to be hype. Have you seen the updated totals on Apple Maps? And I understand half the audience is going to be really mad about me using Apple Maps. Or not Apple Maps, Apple Weather. Why do I keep calling it Apple Maps? I did this yesterday too. Apple Weather.
Mapple.
Wapple. They're now saying 14. This is Apple weather, so take it with a grain of salt. 14 to 17 inches on Saturday, 7 to 9 inches on Sunday, and then a freezing cold Monday, so none of it is going to melt.
We're in for the long haul. Get your milk and bread now.
Get your bread sandwiches ready. My wife was ordering me mittens earlier this morning on Amazon, on the Zon. She was on the Zon, and she said, you need some mittens. And I said, I have mittens. I'm good. And she said, your daughter lost your mittens. I said, thank you for remembering that Kennedy misplaced my mittens.
You're getting mittens.
I'm getting mittens, and I'm very excited.
Are they going to be like fingered ones, or are they going to be like the full like cap, like where you can't, it's all one piece?
I'd have to check with management. I'm sure that whatever I'm getting has been approved.
Yeah, it'll be warm. That's all that matters.
And I'm not stressing. I'm just, whatever they look like, I'm going to say these are great. These are
great answer.
You know what ones I'm getting? The ones I wanted. Thank you.
The ones you deserve.
Perfect. This is. I might even mess around and get some hand warmers. I'm gonna be sledding, and then I'm gonna be making snow forts. I hope it's good snow.
I hope so too.
Right? Like, come on, we need good snowball snow. That's what the people demand.
Yeah, I was like, every year when we get a big snow, me and the roommates just trek out and go out as far as we can until we can't take it anymore, and then we walk all the way back. And it's just fun. We all catch up, talk. Maybe we'll stop by a random restaurant that we make it to.
The last snowstorm we had, one of the funnest things we did is, I didn't do it because the neighbors might feel some type of way, but the boys, they stripped down to their underwear and ran out and did snow angels on the front lawn. It was awesome.
Yeah, I could see where they might question
the neighbors frown upon it whenever I decide to run around the front lawn in my underpants, but the boys get a pass for now. So
they're just experiencing childhood.
Yeah, you got to do it. So we'll probably do that again. I'll tell you what, though, the nerves are starting to set in. Did you see what happened in Hudsonville, Michigan yesterday?
If you're on the stream, you could definitely see it.
It was a 100+ car pileup due to winter weather. This is right outside of Grand Rapids. So just, we're going to have some fun with the weather, but also I would avoid highways.
Please be safe.
I would avoid traveling as best you can. This is up in Michigan, don't you know, where they know how to drive in the snow.
Yeah. I don't want to hear any more smart remarks from folks up north about how Southerners can't drive in the snow.
So this part of the road, though, outside of Grand Rapids, is notorious for this because it's a huge bend in the highway, like a massive curve. So this happens like every year, I feel like.
Well, I-40 westbound near Cookeville here just last week or the last several days had that 30 to 30 car pile up.
I was thinking about when you come in from Murfreesboro down 24 and you get to the split there and you're heading towards Nashville. That's ripe for a pile up too.
Right there at exit 53 where 440 comes off there and splits with 24.
And if you blinked, you missed it. But we had a pile up just last week outside of Cookeville. It was noon on Thursday.
Right.
Sudden snowstorm caused a massive pile up on I-40 West near Cookeville last Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, exit or mile marker 285 is where that happened.
They said roadways became slick within minutes, creating extremely slick driving conditions. The incidents resulted in a chain reaction totaling 11 crashes. That could have been much worse. So just take everything with a bit of caution as we move through the weekend. Hopefully everything is canceled and it's going to start being canceled. That's one of my favorite things about snow, by the way, is canceling things.
People getting canceled, things getting canceled.
I'm just a huge fan of having plans and then those plans no longer being there.
What a good feeling. Every
time I sign up for plans, it sounds like a good idea at the time, but when the plans arrive, I don't want to do them anymore. Does anybody else, does that happen to anybody else?
Of course. That's all part of being an adult.
So we have plans this weekend that I'd be okay with being canceled. If my daughter's listening, she's going to be very upset because she understands that one of those plans is her opening weekend of her play. Not that part. I want that part to go on. She's going to be in Music Man at the Art Center of Cannon County, Amaryllis. She's going to be Amaryllis. So we're looking forward to that. That opens up this weekend. All right, so just we'll keep you updated on the snow. The snow totals, again, just look absolutely bananas if you look at Apple weather. 14 to 17 inches total snowfall for the day on Saturday. 7 to 9 inches total snowfall. It's going to start 6 a.m. on Saturday and go until noon on Sunday. Absolutely bananas. So we're going to keep you updated, and we'll keep you weather aware here on Super Talk all weekend long. I don't know what the plan is. Are we going to have live traffic over the weekend on Saturday? Do you know what the word is on that, Mason?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Live traffic on the weekend. Is that going to happen?
Oh, I don't know.
I feel like we should.
I definitely think it should. I just don't know who's going to be able to get in to be able to monitor anything.
That's fair. All right. Well, we'll figure that out behind the scenes, and we'll keep you guys updated on our plans here. In the meantime, a lot of news, a lot of reaction coming from the Minnesota church protest, harassment, intimidation. You say tomato, I say tomato. Tim Walz finally made a statement. He was forced to make a statement, and Tim Walz, his team put out this. The governor has repeatedly and unequivocally urged protesters to do so peacefully. While people have a right to speak out, he in no way supports interrupting a place of worship. That's it. That's the statement from Tim Walz's office, provided to Fox News in response to the anti-ICE agitators, probably paid, that invaded that Baptist church in Minnesota. That's the response. Weak. Soft. Not the worst response we got out of Minnesota, though. At least he sort of condemned it. Not forcefully, not adamantly. He wasn't angry about it. He put out a nice little statement through his office. Minnesota's Attorney General, Keith Ellison, went the other way. And he actually sided with the protesters. Weird. Believe it or not, this is Minnesota's Attorney General, Keith Ellison, talking with Don Lemon and D.L. Hughley. It's like a black version of the Three Stooges. But listen to this. It's a crazy statement from the Attorney General of Minnesota on that protest inside the church.
Is fundamental to American society. This country started in a protest, and it's freedom of expression. People have a right to lift up their voices and make their peace, and none of us are immune from the voice of the public. So I think that you got the First Amendment, freedom of religion, and the First Amendment, freedom of expression. And I think that, it's just something you got to live with in a society.
Just something you got to live with in a society. Yes. That's, having your church stormed by anti-ICE agitators, paid protesters. That's just something you got to live with in 2026 when you live in a blue state hellhole like Minnesota, don't you know? You got to live with it. You got to live with it. None of us are immune from the voice of the public. Try that in a small town church. What we're learning is just even more just insane. A member of those protesters was actually a St. Paul, Minnesota school board member. So that's who's educating the youth up there. That's who's in the weeds at these protests. This anti-Christian bias, it floods all levels of this state government, obviously. One Democrat state rep called these protests essential. Her state rep, Lee Fink, Democrat from St. Paul, posted on Facebook, actions like this, nonviolent resistance in the face of government inaction or oppression, are essential, and they must continue until ICE is out of our state, the administration is out of the White House, and dignity and humanity for all of our neighbors is achieved. Huh. What about the dignity and the humanity of people just going to Sunday service to worship? No worries there. This is going to continue. If you think you're going to be comfy at a church in Minnesota, get ready. These should continue, this state rep says, until ICE is out of the state and Trump is out of the White House. So, only 3 more years. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Deal with it. It's part and parcel of living in a sanctuary state. State rep and fared mayoral candidate Omar Fateh has declared Somali neighborhoods a no-go zone on social media, saying, we don't do white nationalists around here. This is a Somali no-go zone. This is the leadership that you're getting out of Minnesota. Insane. The Democrat Party on the whole, not much better. Pramila Jayapal was asked about the protesters storming that church, and Pramila Jayapal said, haven't watched the video, but 99.9% of the protests I've seen have been, you guessed it, mostly peaceful.
So first, I want to start with this protest in a church. We were talking here on the panel about whether that is going too far, disrupting a service. What do you think?
Well, I haven't reviewed the entire video for that, but I will just say that the vast majority of protesters, like 99.9%, have been engaging in peaceful protest, and a court decision on Friday reaffirmed that.
So were they peaceful when they bloodied up Jake Lang via a mob? Were they peaceful when they were chasing down conservatives and ripping their American jackets, their USA jackets off of them and then stealing them? Was it peaceful when a couple of tech bros inside Minneapolis were just having lunch at a Chipotle and they started banging on the windows, accusing them of being ICE? Was it peaceful when they stole Nick Sorter's $1,000 camera and then the local police victim blamed Nick Sorter and said you shouldn't be around here? Is that the mostly peaceful protest that we're talking about? Is it peaceful for Don Lemon to go into a church and say, hey, yeah, these kids are getting traumatized, and that's what a good protest is all about? It's peaceful. It's peaceful. These Democrats hate you, and they don't even care to hide it. They would gladly replace you with every illegal alien that they have, and they would say, good. These newcomers will vote Democrat. The Trump administration says mugshots are coming, by the way. The local police, as you heard from the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, the local state officials, you're not going to see any charges for these lunatics. But thanks to a pesky little thing called the FACE Act that the Biden administration weaponized against pro-life activists, we could see federal charges on these lunatics that invaded a church inside Minnesota.
Of justice, but I will say that we are working swiftly. We think the American people will have answers soon, and there will be justice, and there will be mugshots. I mean, what the American people saw with these images are shocking. It is ICE hysteria on full display, and I do think it's a window into the souls of a lot of these agitators, that there's a lot of hatred there, when in reality, the men and women on the ground at ICE are risking their own lives to remove murders, to remove rapists. Just this morning, we arrested multiple child rapists off of the streets of Minneapolis. This is major public safety threats that our men and women on the ground are not just enforcing the rule of law, but they're risking their own lives to remove. She's
absolutely right. 100%. Mugshots incoming. President Trump yesterday on Truth Social, he retweeted, reposted, retruthed. It feels awkward to say. Retruthed. I don't know. Retweeted rolls off the tongue these days. Nobody says re-X'd either. But anyway, he reposted a post calling for arrests when it comes to the agitators inside the Minnesota church. The post he reposted said, a small group of elderly ladies were protesting at an abortion clinic and were given 40 years in prison for violating the FACE Act. I would like to see the same kind of sentence for Don Lemon and the people that broke into that church and did so during services. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche agrees, and he wants to see some charges. He went on Will Cain's show yesterday and called it what it was. He called it a crime.
It's a crime. And so they will face a jury. If they're convicted, they will go to prison. And you're right, the FACE Act has been abused by administrations over the years. You're absolutely right. But when you look at what happened yesterday, you know why that law was passed, and we're going to use it for the reasons that it was meant to be used for, which is to stop this type of conduct. And again, this should not, every single American should be enraged and heartbroken at what happened yesterday in that church. People going to worship, and they are stormed by anti-law enforcement, anti-Christian rioters, and the response that you get from city leaders. Today, the governor just throws his hands up and says, oh, I've always said you should peacefully protest. That is just completely made up. You can listen to what that man has been saying for the past 3 weeks. He has not been encouraging people to peacefully protest. He's been encouraging people to do exactly what they did, and what happened yesterday is a consequence of the governor's words, period.
That's Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche calling it a crime, saying that this falls at the feet of Governor Walz, and he's absolutely right. We've seen the encouragement from the administration. We've seen the rhetoric. They've called ICE the Gestapo, an occupying force, militarizing the streets. I'm sick of it. I want criminal charges for these agitators, including Don Lemon, and I want to see the Insurrection Act invoked as soon as possible. And I think that you need to do it sooner rather than later. Midterms are coming up. We understand that the optics of mass deportations are hurting the feelings of some independents, some moderates, some center left. And we need those guys to win Big Tent. But the American public has the attention span of a goldfish at times. So the quicker we get this over with, the quicker we can get back to business. 923. It's Super Talk. 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friend Shane Ring over at Cover Nash. If you're tired of health insurance that feels like a math test, confusing percentages, surprise bills, fine print that kicks you when you're not looking, well, let's make it simple. Cover Nash is here to do that with a brand new nationwide PPO plan that gives you the freedom to pick your own doctors anywhere in the U.S. No referrals, no red tape, just a $250 deductible, flat $50 copay for doctors, even specialists. Hospital stays, just $1,000. Outpatient surgeries, $250 copay. It goes on and on and on. And here's the kicker: no surprise bills, no hidden fees, just real protection from real providers. Maybe you missed open enrollment. The biggest myth in health insurance is that you have to wait for open enrollment. You don't. You can call Shane today. Get yourself on a plan that's going to save you money and get you better coverage. Shane works with over 75 top-rated insurance companies. They're going to find something for your budget and your needs. Pick up the phone. Call Shane now. I guarantee you he's sitting at his desk. 615-465-0023. 615-465-0023. Cover Nash is making health insurance simple. CoverNash.com.
Coming up at 9:30, we'll have the latest from the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. Also, House Speaker Mike Johnson. He's in the UK and speaks before the British Parliament. That's all again coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Jay Harper in the newsroom. Mason Fleming is producing. My name is Chris Hand. Hey, how are you? Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. My daughter was listening while I was talking about the snow earlier. I told her play is probably going to get canceled this weekend.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I think Friday night they'll be good. For opening night is Friday.
I don't know.
Kennedy, I still have some hope. Mason, the hope is on empty.
The hope is here. I hope you get to do it. I think it would be exciting. It'd be awesome because then you get to go home and wake up tomorrow morning with a bunch of snow.
It's true. We just hope it's good snow. Fort building snow.
Yeah. I just have a feeling that it might come earlier than we're expecting.
All right. Mason could be right. You're disappointing the kids.
That's what I'm here for, I guess.
I want to play some audio on the way. Don Lemon was on a podcast yesterday reacting to the reaction of him storming a church, and he's very shocked. And he came to the conclusion that you only are angry with him because he's a gay black man in America, which obviously, you stupid bigot. Obviously, that's the problem. But a Minnesota pastor isn't exactly impressed with Don Lemon's actions, and he talked about it on Fox News yesterday.
Absolutely. And I think while the fundamental blame lies on the agitators themselves who chose to do this, who coordinated it, planned it, it was a brazen and intentional invasion. They sat through the first half of the service before disrupting it. I do think that some of the blame lies on Governor Walz and the mayors in Minneapolis and St. Paul, who have been encouraging this sort of lawlessness as these law enforcement is seeking to carry out their lawful mission. The government is responsible to secure the border, to remove illegals. This is a lawful thing to do, and yet the governor of Minnesota has been encouraging them to urgently and loudly protest these actions. And now it's not simply disrupting law enforcement actions, it's following law enforcement agents to their places of worship, harassing their families, scaring their children, anyone who's associated with them, demanding that they denounce them. I mean, these are terrible tactics, and it is shameful that the governor would be so tepid in his condemnation.
Yeah, he's absolutely right, and I don't think that they're winning anybody over in the general public. We need to make this story a massive deal. Don Lemon tried to clean it up yesterday, but he actually dug his hole a bit deeper. I'll play you that audio on the way. 9:31, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Yes, it is 31 minutes past 9 a.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. I know you're wanting to know what's going on with the weather. We'll have that forecast for you here shortly. French President Macron is making it clear to other world leaders and business leaders in Davos, Switzerland, that mutual cooperation among allies is the only way to ensure global economic stability. Macron made these comments after President Trump shared a message that he says was from Macron regarding Trump's desire to take over Greenland. In the text message, Macron said that he does not understand what you are doing on Greenland. That's a quote. In his speech at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland, Macron said European and the U.S. need to stick together, even if they don't agree.
It's news not to totally forget what we learned from the Second World War and remain committed to cooperation. And this is also because of those principles that we have decided to join the mutual exercise in Greenland without threatening anyone, but just supporting an ally and another European country, Denmark.
As President Trump posts new AI-created images of the U.S. flag over Greenland and threatens America's NATO allies with tariffs if they don't support a takeover by the U.S. of the territory, the top Republican in Congress gave a historic address to British lawmakers today. Here's ABC's Stephen Portnoy.
It marked the first time a sitting U.S. House Speaker was invited to address members of the British Parliament.
It is a profound honor to...
Mike Johnson used his speech to stress the importance of the transatlantic alliance, even as it's strained by the president's demands for a U.S. acquisition of Greenland.
I told the president that I felt that my mission here today was to encourage our friends and help to calm the waters, so to speak, and I hope to do so.
Johnson said he aimed to assure the MPs that the allies can continue to work through their differences calmly as friends.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at USS, United Structural Systems. We got snow coming to the area. Do you know what happens when snow melts? A little science for you. I follow the science. When snow melts, it turns into water. And that water could be getting into your crawl space in your basement. And here's the reality. Water damage isn't going to fix itself. Foundation problems don't get cheaper. Waiting is only going to make things worse. So if the water is getting into your basement or your crawl space, you need people you can trust. This is where United Structural Systems comes in. They've been doing this work since 1994. Decades in the game, specializing in waterproofing and foundation repair. Their experts are going to track down exactly where the water's coming from and install permanent solutions using American-made materials backed by a lifetime transferable warranty. That's how confident they are. The warranty can stay with the home and go to the next owners. That's crazy. No scare tactics, no temporary fixes, just straightforward answers and work that holds up and stands the test of time. So if you're seeing moisture, cracks, doors that won't shut right, now is the time to act. Call United Structural Systems, 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, USSTN.com. Oh, hello. How are you? We're back live on the stream, and I want to do a little bit of FAFO Minnesota edition. So thank you for joining us here for this exclusive content. I saw this yesterday, made me smile. Maybe it'll make you smile as well. This is an FAFO moment from yesterday in Minnesota. Let's do this. Boom, boom, boom.
I've been putting all the hot plates in the tracks.
Do not break my fucking foot.
You guys got into the Johnny's looking at is a black.
Get out of the fucking Get out of the car. Put the car park. Get out of the car. Put the car park. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
You know I'm a Marine Corps veteran.
I don't care what you are.
I love that. You know I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I don't care what you are. Tussle ensues. Who do you think wins? File this under play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I wish, this is just me, when she goes, you know I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I wish he would have said, yes, we understood Biden lowered the standards. They've been raised again. You wouldn't cut it. 9:37. We're going to rejoin radio. We'll see you on the other side. 938 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. You can listen to the show anywhere. iHeartRadio, tune in, the FM dial. You can watch the show as well. Super Talk TV, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Rumble. Those are the big ones. YouTube and Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. We are popping in during the commercial breaks to bring you more exclusive contents. I'm filing a lot of them under Play Stupid Games, Win Stupid Prizes, Minneapolis edition, if that gives you a hint as to what we're covering during the commercial breaks, live exclusively on the stream. I saw this yesterday, and it infuriated me. Don Lemon trying to clean up what happened at that church. I think he's a bit nervous now that he knows criminal charges could be coming. And so he's taken a stance that so many leftists take. He's going to start playing the victim, right? Oh, I had no idea. I had no idea what was going on. I was just in there to document it. Freedom of the press. And it's like, okay, got it. But the way they described the church that they invaded, mind-numbingly infuriating. Jennifer Welch is a Democrat strategist, bit of a potty mouth on her, looks like just an absolute psycho. And I say that from a loving place. I think she needs help. She had Don Lemon on her podcast, or she was on his podcast. They were talking about what happened at the church. Jennifer Welch covers for the mob of agitators and then labels the church as being full of white nationalists, entitled white nationalists. Now, I don't know if you saw the video of them storming the church, but I did. And here's a couple things that stood out to me. The church had everybody, actually. There were white people there. There were Asian people there. There were black people there. It wasn't a place for white national. I don't know of a white nationalist church that says, okay, you can marry an Asian, but that's it. That's just one. Like, no, it doesn't happen. But the Democrats are still doing their best to paint this church in Minnesota, this Baptist church, as a haven for white nationalists. Listen to Jennifer Welch.
So that is one of those white evangelical churches that turn out to vote for Donald Trump, 80+% of that sect of Christianity. These are the don't tread on me folks. These are the people who feel like America is for Americans and American only. These are white nationalists. And the DOJ got their panties in a wad because these protesters went straight to them and addressed their hypocrisy. You, a gay black journalist, are, prime bait for them to drum up these charges. But so that's one issue. You went right into the most entitled white nationalists there are.
Okay, that's the issue. The issue here is you went and you struck at the core of white nationalists who also are black and Asian. The worst kind of white nationalist. Tell you what, you know what's scarier than a white nationalist? A black white nationalist and an Asian white nationalist. Oh, those are the trickiest ones. They blend in with the crowd. You gotta keep your alerts up. Keep your head on a swivel for the Asian white nationalists, which were in attendance at that entitled white nationalist church, according to Jennifer Welch. It gets worse. Don Lemon insulted the churchgoers that the place that he stormed, and labeled them as white supremacists, labeled them as entitled, and said you only get religious freedom if you're a white male. Again, all of this is just bovine scatology, because when you watch the video, you see all sorts of people. You see what America looks like. It's a mixed pot. It's a mixed bag. There were black people, there were Asian people, there were white people. Okay, great. It looked like a good church. Not as healthy as I'd like it to be. I wish it would have been more crowded, to be perfectly honest with you. But I'm not going to knock people for going to church, but these guys are. And they're labeling them as white nationalists. Don Lemon actually was the victim here, the true victim, just so you know.
And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy.
Not the Christianity you practice. Oh. What Christianity do you practice? Just a question. Do you go to you go to one of those churches where the pastor's proclaiming that he's transitioning on the altar there with the rainbow sashes, and is that the one you go? I wouldn't label that a church personally. I don't know if that's the one he goes to, but he says that he doesn't go to the white nationalist ones. That's for sure.
And that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy. And they think that this country was built for them, that it is a Christian country, when actually we left England because we wanted religious freedom. It's religious freedom, but only if you're a Christian and only if you're a white male, pretty much. And so, yeah, I absolutely 100%, but it's an intimidation tactic. And, I said, I don't understand how I've become the face of it when I was a journalist. I do understand that I'm the biggest name there.
Oh.
And I'm also, as I was on with my producers this morning, you and Kylie talk all the time. My producers were saying, I said, how did I become the face of this? And my producer said, Don, you're a gay black man in America. And there's
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. America, it is a Christian nation. It was founded as a Christian nation, whether he wants to acknowledge that or not. That's the reality of it. Charlie Kirk laid that out numerous times, as clear as anyone could. This has nothing to do with you being a gay black man. This has everything to do with you raiding a church with paid agitators like an absolute lunatic. He says America's not a Christian nation. I would just say, actually, we are.
Our country was founded on common law because the Declaration only refers to God 4 times, and the Constitution doesn't refer to God at all, and it only articulates the structure of government.
So first of all, remember that we were a collection of states and colonies, and you need to read the state constitutions before anything else. 13 on 13 required a declaration of faith. In almost every single one of the original state constitutions, they had, I profess Lord and Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. Secondly, 55 out of 56 of the original signers of the Declaration were Bible-believing, church-attending Christians. You asked about common law. Well, let's go to 3 principles of common law: presumption of innocence, due process, and jury of your peers. All 3 are biblical principles. So, and all wrapped into the ultimate biblical principle that you shall not favor justice if you are rich or poor, which is in Leviticus 19, which is the idea of blind justice, which is incorporated also in the New Testament ideal. Neither slave nor Greek nor Jew, you're all one in Jesus Christ, which is the idea of human equality. These are all biblical ideas, but more importantly than that, they say that God was only mentioned 4 times in the Declaration of Independence. Well, that's a big deal. John Adams famously said the Constitution was only written for a moral and religious people. It was wholly inadequate for the people of any other. The body politic of America was so Christian that our form and structure of government was built for the people that believed in Christ our Lord. One of the reasons we're living through a constitutional crisis is that we no longer have a Christian nation, but we have a Christian form of government, and they're incompatible. So you cannot have liberty if you do not have a Christian population.
Charlie explains it so quickly, so concisely, and just obliterates everything Don Lemon said. But, hey, white nationalists, and they're only after me because I'm a gay black man. Got it. Make it make sense. Don Lemon is the real victim here. Insanity. Don Lemon is actually nervous. This is really where all this is coming from. He understands that he could be facing charges under the FACE Act, and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche laid that out yesterday on the Will Cain Show on Fox News.
Freedom of the press extends to a lot of different areas. It does not extend to somebody just trespassing and being embedded with a group of rioters and being part of the group that storms inside of a church. So as our Assistant Attorney General said yesterday, we are absolutely investigating that conduct. And the fact that man, that Mr. Lemon, thought that was a good idea to do that and then to race away from it saying it was freedom of the press, well, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. I'm liking Blanche. Now I just want to see some fruit from this. Let's actually see some arrests. They're already doing the due diligence on the internet. The guy with the beard that was shouting at people, remember that? We played the clip yesterday. The lunatic with the F Trump hat on. He is 100% a paid agitator, in my opinion. This guy has videos all over the internet. William Kelly is his name. He has videos of him terrorizing and harassing National Guardsmen in D.C. back in December. He is 100% a Democrat activist, and he does this all the time. There's videos of him crying outside of public schools because ICE might be going there. There's videos of him, again, harassing National Guardsmen. This video from the church. There's actually a new video that he posted right after he attacked the church, where he went to a Somali mosque. Went to a Somali mosque because he felt good and he wanted to be with the community after terrorizing those Christians. This is who Don Lemon was embedded with. Now, Don understands that he's going to be in the crosshairs because, as he put it, he's a gay black man in America, not having anything to do with the FACE Act. But he is nervous.
MAGA administration and the fake news MAGAs are losing their mind over something that's not even true. I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests. Once the protest started in the church, we did an act of journalism there.
You know, it's funny. Western Lensman put this together. So that's after the protest, right? But before the protest, you'll see Don Lemon making his cameraman point away from the agitators because they were doing operational planning. He knew exactly what was going on. There's parts of the video where he's kissing one of the organizers on the cheek. He knew where they were going. Make no mistake about it. He laid it out before the protest.
Getting the operation together again. This is an operation that is secret, that they invited folks out. Can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to watch it live unfold here on the Don Lemon Show. There are for this reason it may look like MAGA coded, but there's a reason they have so many white people here. I'm just going to be honest. It's because of the operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as they said, white allies here.
So he can't tell you what's going on. He's got to back away from the camera. He knows that everybody's MAGA coded. They're dressing up like MAGA because of the operation that they're going to be doing. And you're going to find out. He knew exactly what was happening. He knew what the goal was. He knew where the location was. Anybody trying to tell you different is lying through their teeth. Don Lemon included.
So that is what I could say. I turned our camera off of them because they're giving some critical information here. But there we go. Everybody's ready to go. Let's go. Okay. Thank you guys thanks for allowing me to be here. Thank you guys.
Okay.
How are you?
Good.
To see you. We're on.
And then he kisses one of the activists who organized the whole thing right on the cheek. Mwah! Love you. This is going to be great. Let's go harass some Christians. I had no idea. They're only coming after me because I'm a gay black man in America, obviously. Obviously. And if you disagree, well, you're a stupid bigot, obviously. Stunning and brave. Times are changing. I hope we see some criminal charges for these agitators. I hope we see silver bracelets, and I hope Don Lemon is included in that group. On the way, Scott Jennings, he got into it last night on the Abby Phillip program. It was pretty good. He had some thoughts on Don Lemon. And then this little kid, I think he's a little kid, couldn't be more than 24, 25. This geek started telling Scott Jennings not to call illegal aliens illegal. No one's illegal on stolen land. No one's illegal on stolen land. You wait until you hear what Scott Jennings had to say. I'll play that on the other side. It's 9:52. This is Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. What's up, guys? How's everybody doing? Thank you for joining us here on the stream. Let me get some FAFO moments. Let's see what we got here. I got a list of all this stuff. I like make folders on X. I don't know if anybody else does that, where I just like stash stuff and I'm like, okay, I'll save this for later. This is from a couple days ago. Federal agent had to smash the window of a leftist woman after she was stalking and impeding ICE. And then she gets plucked from her seat and promptly arrested. Let's watch this one together. Eric Doherty on X posted this. Freedom TV, freedomnews.tv. Here we go. Ready? Let's do it. You hear the protesters yelling, "Drive away"? Play stupid games. Win stupid prizes. I actually saw a video. You should... I'm disabled. Yeah, mentally. So I saw a video last night, and it's like the way these Ice Watch guys are working, they're on walkie-talkies, and they're like going back and forth with some headquarters about license plates, the vehicle make, the model. It's insane how organized they are. Make no mistake about it. These agitators are working in a group. They are highly sophisticated, and this needs to be stopped. And shout out to ICE for doing the stopping. We're going to join the radio broadcast. We'll catch you guys on the other side. We got a lot more. We're going to do a lot more stream-only content over the course of the broadcast. So hang out with us on YouTube. Don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe. Thank you for being in the chat. But if you can, also leave a comment. Say something nice. Say something mean. Whatever you feel inclined to do. Appreciate you.
So, just how much bread and milk should we stock up on for the weekend? We'll have the latest on the weekend weather. Also, the search is on for those responsible for the murder of an Indiana judge and his wife. We'll have those stories coming up at 10 a.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You said the search is on for the correct amount of bread and milk, Jay Harper in the newsroom?
No.
The correct answer is all of it.
Of it, yes.
You need all of it.
Clear out the shelf.
Get everything. Don't forget the toilet paper.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, much needed. Much needed. You got
I was just going to say, how much milk do people think they're going to drink in like 4 days?
I know.
All of it. Dude, I'm going to be I mean, doing all sorts of things. Milk soup, milk sandwiches.
I
can't
always
wait.
get a kick out of how many cars are parked by the local liquor store.
Also, I mean, we learned during COVID, those are essential.
It'll keep you warm.
Yeah, it's true. We're talking about Scott Jennings. He was doing his best to reason with the lunatic left last night on Abby Phillips' show.
About a couple of things. One, last summer, if I were sitting in a church right now in Minneapolis and a bunch of people burst in, I'd be on edge because last summer a shooter showed up at a Catholic church in Minneapolis and shot a bunch of kids. 2 died. I think 30 people were injured. 26 were kids. And so the terror in that church, I think, is probably warranted, if for no other reason than we've seen radical violence at a church in the not-too-distant past. We've also seen, I think, attempts to create violence and mayhem and fear in churches around the country, synagogues and other places. And so I feel like the radical left is somewhat emboldened right now to go up to and now into places of worship. It sounds like the FACE Act is what they're going to use. I've also heard today from some sources that the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871, they may look at that for bringing charges to Don Lemon and these radical leftists that went into this church.
It would be poetry if they charged the Democrats with the Ku Klux Klan Act. Did you hear the sigh from the leftist? Who knows Scott Jennings is just delivering nothing but truth, and she's very, very upset about it. This was a moment, though, that really tickled me pink. It's Scott Jennings. How old do you think this kid is? 22? 21?
Yeah, it was like mid-20s at latest.
This young guy, if you're watching the stream, he's very upset. He already has his arms folded. He's just disappointed in Scott being himself. And he said, we don't say illegal, okay? Okay, in this house, we don't say illegal.
I
You
recognize
don't get to
haven't
say the
reviewed all
word
the material
illegals anymore.
But
You
there's-
have. The
I don't?
diverse. The percentage.
Who are you to tell me what I can and can't? I've never met you, brother. I can say whatever I want. They're illegal aliens, and that's what the law calls them, illegal aliens. That's what I'm going to call them.
Right. Listen, you can't say illegals anymore because ICE is directly targeting legal citizens of this country. And I
How are you going to enforce your edict on me, just out of curiosity?
Listen, I understand.
But just listen to his point about illegal.
No, I want to know why he gets to
It's
instruct
not your.
my...
She said, just listen to his point. Just listen to No. I want to know how he's going to make me stop saying illegal.
Changing the topic.
Hang on.
I want to know.
You're making a point making an
about the
emotional
people
plea.
being arrested. Go
I
ahead.
understand
I'm making an emotional plea. What is different from anything else we get from the Democrats?
that your job is predicated on just getting increasingly more demented every single week and that the audience comes back to see if perhaps
Make your point.
My point is that you're saying the word illegals, but
it's in
you
federal
don't
law.
even really know what's happening. Or actually, I think you do, and
Sure,
you're
I
just
do.
doing this on purpose. But
Yes,
the truth
because
is,
I want the law enforced.
they are not just targeting illegal immigrants.
They
are
are.
targeting natural-born U.S. citizens.
They are not.
That is a fact. You
They are
cannot
not.
deny that. I mean, you can on national television.
They are
You deny
not.
facts all the time.
They
You've
are
done it a
not.
couple times in this very episode.
I still want to know how you're going to enforce your language edicts on me.
We'll take that up.
How are we going to enforce it?
We're going to take that up in the break.
I love it. Even the leftists are like, okay, you gotta stop poking the bear in Scott Jennings there, kid. 10:01 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 1 minute past 10 a.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. I know the weather forecast on a lot of folks' minds, and Middle Tennessee will likely be in for a wintry weekend as the storm system is expected to move in late Friday through early Sunday morning. Saturday could be the day with the most impact. The exact timing and types of precip still not really known. It could be rain, snow, or ice, or maybe all of the above. The storm could affect areas from Texas to the Carolinas, with Middle Tennessee potentially the prime spot for snow. Current predictions suggest perhaps a 60% chance of at least 3 inches of snow and maybe even double digits. And minor ice accumulation also possible, especially south of I-40. Again, it just all depends on the timing of this stuff. So keep it here on WTN. We will keep you posted. The search is on in Indiana for the person responsible for shooting a county judge and his wife in their home. Police in Tippecanoe County say the suspect claimed to have the Stephen and Kimberly Myers dog, before shooting through the door. Both are recovering from their injuries. They were thankfully not killed. We hear now from ABC's Aaron Katursky.
Meyer's been a judge in Tippecanoe County since 2014. And in recent years, Indiana judges have been asked if they had received threats. A majority had, and nearly all of them are pushing for a state version of a federal law that restricts online access to judges' home addresses. Indiana's chief judge said this morning she's grateful Meyer is alive. She urged all judges in the state to remain vigilant.
After a 3-day holiday weekend, equities investors are back on the trading floor. ABC's Jim Ryan says the markets are being rocked by current events around the globe.
Just before the opening bell, Dow futures were down 700 points, while the S&P and NASDAQ were poised to fall more than 1.5% to begin the session. Analysts point to new threats from President Trump to impose stiff tariffs on NATO countries unless they agree to U.S. terms to purchase Greenland. After the start of trade, the Dow pared its losses, but was still more than 500 points below Friday's close.
That is the latest news. We'll have the latest weather forecast coming up. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
All right, we're back on the stream, and I appreciate you guys joining us here. So I wanted to play this video, especially, with all the conversation around Minnesota and the protesters there. So William Kelly is the guy with the beard that had the F Trump hat, and he's a professional agitator. There are videos of him going back to December, harassing National Guardsmen in D.C. There's videos further back of him crying in front of elementary school where ICE may or may not be doing operations. Spoiler alert, they never did any operations on elementary schools. But he went to that church on Sunday, and upon hearing that Pam Bondi and the DOJ may be coming for him, he had some thoughts.
Yesterday, I went into a church with Nakima Armstrong and I protested these white supremacists. The pastor of the church is a fucking ICE leader in the city. How can you be a fucking pastor and be a fucking ICE agent? Fuck them. They want to come after me? Fuck them. Well, how can they live so comfortably while the fucking people from Somalia that are in this country legally, that have fucking citizenship, can't even go to their mosque and pray? How do they deserve any fucking different? Fuck those fucking Nazis. Come and get me, Pam Bondi, you fucking traitorous bitch. All power to the people.
He seems swell. Seems like the kind of guy that you'd let watch your kids, right? Just stand up individual, great guy. I hope Pam Bondi obliges him and we see him in handcuffs as soon as humanly possible. It's 10:06. We're going to rejoin the radio broadcast. We'll catch you guys on the other side. A lot more to get to. Thank you for joining us on the stream. Like, subscribe, comment, do all the things. Appreciate y'all. We'll be back in a minute.
Save for your free home water test and 15% off.
It's 10:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. You can listen to the show anywhere. iHeart, TuneIn, the FM dial. You can watch the show. YouTube and Rumble are the big ones, but we're also Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. Help us grow that digital footprint of the radio station. It actually does help us, believe it or not. The more YouTube subscribers, the more serious we get taken by a lot of the people that live on the internet. So help us out. Hit like and subscribe. Donald Trump says we're probably putting too much media attention on the protests, and the Democrats are putting too much media attention on ICE. He posted this on True Social last night. In Minnesota, There's too much media attention on ICE, who have removed some of the worst murderers and criminals in the world, people led into our country by crooked Joe Biden's horrendous open border policy, and not enough attention paid to the staggering sums of money from the state by corrupt Minnesota politicians. President DJT. We've said this for a while on the show. I think it was actually the day of the shooting, when the shooting of Renee Nicole Good happened. I think it was while in the aftermath of that, we said this is going to benefit the Democrats because they're going to be able to hyper-focus on this and move away from the fraud. The fraud needs to be tackled. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing chaos in the streets. I also think it's important that we highlight the people these leftists are protecting. We played a video yesterday where it was an ICE agent. He's like, do you understand what you're doing? He's yelling at these people that are impeding, blowing whistles, chasing them around. He goes, we're tracking down a convicted child sex offender. And you guys are letting him know that we're on the way. ICE has been doing a remarkable job in Minnesota, despite the protests. Kristi Noem, yesterday on Twitter, posted this, just as a matter of fact on the success that they've had. Peace and public safety in Minneapolis, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem writes on X, we've arrested over 10,000 criminal illegal aliens who are killing Americans, hurting children, raining terror in Minneapolis because Tim Walz, Jacob Frey refused to protect their own people and instead protect criminals. In the last 6 weeks, our brave DHS law enforcement have arrested 3,000 criminal illegal aliens, including vicious murderers, rapists, child pedophiles, and incredibly dangerous individuals. A huge victory for public safety. 3,000 criminal illegal aliens in the last 6 weeks. Unbelievable. Keep doing more. This is going to be the tightrope that we walk on as we head toward midterms. You understand that, right? It's a game of optics. And there are going to be some weak-kneed Republicans who think that they're losing the optics game and it's going to cost them their congressional or their Senate seat in the midterms. I think now is the time to put the foot on the gas, not slow down. Now, there's a couple things that they could do to change public perception. Maybe we stop with the DHS social media videos. We stop with the rock and roll and all of that on Reels on Instagram, and we just do the operation quietly. That could be one way of doing it. But we need to continue. This is what Donald Trump was voted into office for. There are going to be many weak-kneed Republicans that are thinking we should back off. This isn't going to work. But now is the time to really put our you know what on the table and just say it's time to go. And we need political leaders that can continue to push through the noise and through the optics battle. I hope it continues. I do. They're also focused on massive fraud. Kristi Noem continues on X. There's massive fraud in Minneapolis, at least $19 billion. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Our Homeland Security investigators are on the ground in Minneapolis conducting wide-scale investigations to get justice for the American people who have been robbed blind. Make America safe again. This is what we need. We need more arrests, and we need more individuals arrested for the fraud. Not just the agitators, not just the those that are impeding and obstructing, but we need high-ranking arrests when it comes to the fraud. But ICE is on the ground continuing to do their job despite the protests that we've seen. 3,000 arrests in the last 6 weeks.
Tonight that they have arrested a total of some 3,000 illegal immigrants in Minnesota, including over the weekend, several convicted of crimes such as homicide and sexual assault. Meantime, several dozen protesters remain here at the federal building, protesting the actions of federal agents, but they are staying behind the newly erected barriers put here by the Hennepin County Sheriff's Department. It is a simple and effective so far measure that raises the obvious question: why didn't local law enforcement do this last week?
Well, because local leaders understood that this was going to take the attention off the fraud. That they knew. They saw what the optics game looked like, and they decided to lean into it. And maybe it's working. I mean, depending on some poll numbers that you look at, the public is losing their appetite for mass deportations. You got guys like Joe Rogan even wavering on it, and that's not a good look. But we got to persist. We got to keep pushing forward. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison is very upset. Given the news of all these arrests, he thinks that this is just a travesty of justice, even though they've taken child sex offenders, pedophiles, rapists, murderers, and gang members off the street by the thousands. Keith Ellison is not impressed, to say the least.
I love it, but here's what I want to say to all the rest of your audience, because I know you got a ton of people who are, way outside of Minnesota. This could be coming your way. If he could target us, he can target anyone and create an element of fear. What he's trying to do is create an atmosphere of fear where no one is willing to speak against him because they think, I'll just send my Praetorian guards to hurt you and to destroy your business economy, to stop your kids from going to school, to drive up your local costs. And unless you want that, you're going to get in line. That's what it's all about. This is the essence of dictatorship. It's the essence of it. And we got to get over the idea that this couldn't happen here. Not only could it happen here, it's happening here.
Wow. What a freedom fighter. It could be coming to you next. How many cities have said, please come here next? Columbus, Ohio. Please do Columbus, Ohio next. But this is just such a joke of a statement. If he can target us, he'll target anyone. He's creating an atmosphere of fear. Yeah, because, knowing that gang members and pedophiles and rapists and murderers are walking around the street terrorizing individuals doesn't create an atmosphere of fear. It's funny, too, because we have an example here locally in Tennessee on what it looks like when you work with federal officials, and the results are good. Memphis is in direct contradiction of this statement. It's an element of fear, and it's coming to you next. First they came for Minnesota, and nobody said anything, and then they came for me, and there was nobody left to speak up. It's like, no, that's not. It's not the reality at all. If you work with these federal officials, you actually get a lot of fruit and a lot of harvest. In the first 6 weeks of the Memphis operation, the task force made 2,500 arrests. They had up to 4,000 arrests by mid-December of 2025. They seized 400 illegal firearms. They made Memphis safer. In that same time period in 2024, comparing to what we saw in 2025, robberies dropped by 70%. Murders were almost cut in half. Overall violent crime in targeted areas fell by nearly half. And we saw a safer Memphis. Not even to mention all the kids that had been missing that were rescued and saved. On the illegal alien front, the task force was going directly after criminal illegal aliens. And in the first 3 weeks, there was 7 immigration-related arrests in a single day. By early 2026, there was a removal of over 6,000 undocumented, we can't say illegal, undocumented illegal aliens from Memphis and the surrounding areas, many linked to criminal activities. You can work with the federal government and not have chaos in the streets. Memphis proves that. What you're seeing in Minnesota is a direct result of the local officials and the local state government creating chaos. And they can try and blame and pin it on ICE as much as they want. But that's just not the reality. They can scream that it's the reality, but it's not. And you know that. He said, be careful. Be careful. This could be coming your way next. You know what? It actually did scare me a little bit because I saw this video of leftists invading a Target in Minneapolis. And I did think to myself, I don't want this to happen here next.
We won't stop fighting. We won't stop fighting. ICE is gone. Till ICE is gone.
This is actually the most terrifying of all. That this could be coming to a city near us. This could be coming to you. Yuck. At least they're not burning it down. That's nice. That's a positive turn of events in Minneapolis with the protesters and the targets, because they burned that one down that last time. But if you cooperate with the feds, you get safer cities. We're seeing it in Memphis. No protests, no fanfare, no chaos, full cooperation. That's what it looks like. We need more of that in America, not less of it. Up there in Minneapolis, Black Panthers are organizing. Did you hear this? Black Panthers are they're getting organized, and they're going to be patrolling the streets in opposition to the ICE raids. If you're watching on Supertalk TV, these are the Black Panthers.
Uso, what are we here for?
For the protection of the black man, woman, and child by any means necessary. Unify, educate, demonstrate, liberate.
Why?
The community is my responsibility.
The community is my responsibility. I got to protect every black man, woman, and child by any means necessary. So we're going to fight ICE from removing murderers and rapists and child pedophiles. Does that fall under any means necessary? Does that fall under by any means necessary? Huh. If you were going to protect every black man, woman, and child by any means necessary, wouldn't that actually mean cooperating with ICE? Are we going to see a mashup? Are we going to see a Black Panther ICE mashup where they work together? Is it going to be the meme with the white hand and the black hand? What? Is that what we're going to get? We might get it. I mean, if we're just judging by what they're chanting, it sounds like they would support the ICE operations in Minnesota, don't you know? Oh, they're marching.
Uso.
Hey, if you're watching on Supertalk TV, the formation's sloppy. They're lined up. It looks like they're doing little military moves. Very sloppy. Very sloppy. Not a lot of fear. Not a lot of fear. Oh, wow. See, I'm terrified. Just shaking in my boots. The community is my responsibility. And gosh darn it, we need to keep these pedophiles and these child rapists and these murderers and these convicted killers on the streets by any means necessary. 1021, Super Talk, 99.7, WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. We got snow coming to the area, and you're like, man, I can't go sledding. I got back pain. Oh, come on. Come on. 2026 is the year you get back to a pain-free life. You should be able to go sledding. And if you had talked to my friend Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley at the Wellness Institute, you could be sledding as early as this weekend. Dr. Mitchell and his team are the first and only office in Tennessee with a brand new device called the HydroWave, stimulating stem cells for real cellular healing. No surgery, no needles, no opioids. Pair that with the non-surgical spinal and knee decompression. This is as advanced as it gets. They're using anti-gravity machines, robotic lasers. They're going to actually take the time to review your MRI, explain what's happening, and how to fix it. A pain-free life is 100% possible in 2026. You just need to make the call to the Wellness Institute of Nashville. 615-246-5009. 615-246-5009. I'm Chris Hand, and the Wellness Institute of Nashville has my seal of approval on this deal that could change your life. Painisbad.com. All right, we're back on the stream. Appreciate you guys joining us here. We got some stuff. I don't know if this is off topic, but I saw this morning. World Economic Forum is happening today, tomorrow. You'll own nothing and be happy. Everybody knows about the World Economic Forum. But I saw a video of Emmanuel Macron, the president of France. He was giving a speech, and he gave the speech wearing sunglasses. Did you see that? He gave a speech wearing sunglasses. And I can't be the only one who is thinking to themselves, did Brigitte punch him in the eye before he went out there to the World Economic Forum? I don't really know what he says in this speech, but I was very, very distracted by the black eye hiding sunglasses. Do you see this?
China is welcome, but what we need is more Chinese foreign direct investment in Europe in some key sectors to contribute to our growth, to transfer some technologies, and not just to export towards Europe some devices or products which sometimes don't have the same standards or are much more subsidized as the one being produced in Europe.
Yeah, nobody understands what you said, Frogman. Just speak in French. Why is he speaking in English with a thick accent? It's fine. The future is so bright that he's got to wear shades, and it has nothing to do with his very strong wife who has laid hands on him before. Nothing to do with that. He also might have pink eye. What's worse? Would it be worse to have a black eye from your wife or pink eye? Both would be embarrassing. We're going to rejoin the radio broadcast. We'll catch you guys on the other side. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is it a black eye or pink eye? I would appreciate your input. I'll see you on the radio side.
We'll have the latest from the World Economic Forum in Switzerland and House Speaker Mike Johnson. He speaks before the British Parliament. That's all coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Jay Harper in the newsroom. It is 10:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. We are eagerly awaiting massive amounts of snow over the weekend. Have you got your sleds ready? Have you jumped on Facebook Marketplace? Are you making the calls? I know exactly where I'm going to be. That MTSU Sled and Hill, man. It's the best one. It's right over there by Rutherford on near Greek Row in Murfreesboro. It's the most fun that we have anytime it snows. We go down to the Sled and Hill. Very excited about that. My daughter's bumming because she's in the Music Man over at the Arts Center of Cannon County. She's starring in the Music Man, and I keep telling her, I'm like, I think your opening weekend's going to be canceled. You might get you might squeak out your Friday show, but I have no faith that Saturday or Sunday are going on as scheduled. None.
I'm very doubtful, for sure.
Oh, I mean, have you ever been down to the Arts Center of Cannon County? I mean, that road, it's just no.
It's a slide waiting to happen.
Nobody wants to go down that road. It's not happening.
Yeah.
So get your tickets for Friday's show. Do that. I wouldn't necessarily bank on the Saturday show.
Yeah, make it a packed full house for opening night.
That's what we need. Because who knows? I mean, with how cold it's going to stay, we could be digging out for weeks.
Oh, yeah, probably.
We will rebuild, though. Don't worry. We're looking forward to it. I'm excited. Downright giddy. We got a lot to talk about. A little bit of time. My friend Josh Tifo from Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action, is going to be joining us here momentarily, and we got a lot to discuss. Hey, you remember that Haitian guy from about a year ago who was getting deported, and he thanked Joe Biden and Barack Obama for everything they did for him? Do you remember that? Bill Malugin had that story. And this is just insane on so many levels. So this guy was picked up a year ago. Remember this charming charmer, this charming charmer, this great individual, this newcomer, the neighbor. He's a neighbor. Remember him?
I'm not going back to Haiti. One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
Trump, you feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
Thank Obama for everything he did for me, bro. It'd be more funny if I didn't have a follow-up. Bill Malugin tweeting last night, how long and complicated can the deportation process be? Remember this Haitian gang member with 17 convictions who went viral for yelling F Trump, Biden forever during my In Bed with ICE Boston 1 year ago? He's still in ICE custody in the U.S. Despite having a deportation order, I'm told he continues to use every legal avenue and appeal to try to avoid deportation. He is currently detained by ICE at a facility in Louisiana. He was arrested on January 22nd, 2025.
I'm not going back to Haiti.
One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
Trump, you feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
Maybe Obama got the message and helped this guy out with a lawyer because he's still in the country. This is how convoluted our immigration process is. The illegal alien is entitled to a full hearing on the issue of removal, an opportunity to present applications for relief from removal if removal is established. Once the immigration court process comes to conclusion, he then has a right to an administrative appeal before the Board of Immigration Appeals. After the Board of Immigration Appeals makes a decision on the case, the alien may appeal to a federal appeals court, and in a rare case, review before the United States Supreme Court. In total, he's going to be deported within the decade. Guaranteed. What? This is what I mean when I'm like, we have to put the foot on the gas. This stuff is ridiculous on so many levels. We had millions upon millions of illegal aliens flood into this country under Joe Biden, and it needs to be rectified. Stop with the social media reels. Stop with all the hype reels that we're getting on Instagram from DHS and ICE. Just do the job. Just get the right people in place to do the job quickly, effectively, and with little to no harm. That's what we need. Having this guy still in the country, it is embarrassing, to say the least. 10:30, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
It's 10:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We'll get you that weather forecast I know you're interested in. That is coming up. French President Emmanuel Macron is making it clear to other world leaders and business leaders in Davos, Switzerland, that mutual cooperation among allies is the only way to ensure global economic stability. Macron made these comments after President Trump shared a message that he says was from Macron regarding Trump's desire to take over Greenland. In the text message, Macron said that he, quote, does not understand what you're doing on Greenland, unquote. In his speech at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland, Macron said that European countries and the U.S. need to stick together even if they disagree.
It's news not to totally forget what we learned from the Second World War and remain committed to cooperation. And this is also because of those principles that we have decided to join the mutual exercise in Greenland without threatening anyone, but just supporting an ally and another European country, Denmark.
As President Trump posts new artificially created images of the U.S. flag over Greenland and threatens America's NATO allies with tariffs if they don't support a U.S. takeover of the territory, the top Republican in Congress gave a historic address to British lawmakers today. Here's ABC's Stephen Portnoy.
It marked the first time a sitting U.S. House Speaker was invited to address members of the British Parliament.
It is a profound honor to...
Mike Johnson used his speech to stress the importance of the transatlantic alliance, even as it's strained by the president's demands for a U.S. acquisition of Greenland.
I told the president that I felt that my mission here today was to encourage our friends and help to calm the waters, so to speak, and I hope to do so.
Johnson said he aimed to assure the MPs that the allies can continue to work through their differences calmly as friends.
That is the latest news. We have weather next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at the Glock store. I've been talking about these guys for years. Love them. Love going down to the Glock store. The staff is always friendly. Training there is the best. but they got something new down at the Glock store. Have you heard about the latest Glocks, the Gen 6? You probably heard by now. Myself, Mandis, Murphy, we're all talking about it. These are the ones with the new optic system, the RTF6 texturing, the enlarged beaver tail, the flat face trigger, the trigger guard undercut. I could go on and on. These are the most refined Glocks ever produced, the Gen 6. And as you might expect, the Glock store already got their hands on some. The Gen 6 G17s, 19s, 45s. But as soon as they got their hands on them, they were gone before they got there. It was so quick. It's because the Glock store is letting you pre-order these bad boys, so you can be one of the first ones to get your hands on one. And as a thank you for your pre-order, if you mention my name, Chris Hand, you'll get an extra magazine when you pick up your new Gen 6 Glock. So here's what you do. You go down to the Glock store, you check out the Gen 6 Glocks. If you like what you feel, hold, shoot, pre-order one. Then when you go to pick it up, say, Chris Hand sent me, boom, extra magazine, limited time offer, and only from the Glock store. Minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere.
It's time to make playing at Oak Grove Gaming even more rewarding by joining Fast Track Rewards. Sign up, spin our thrilling games, and you could get back up to $250 in free play on us. Don't wait. This winning new member offer is only available for a limited time. For details, visit oakgrovegaming.com. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hey, Roy Matlock Jr. here. If you are doing real estate or thinking about it, put this on your radar. Summit to Scale, Thursday, November 20th at Rocketown here in Nashville. We start at 10 and run all day at Summit to Scale. I'll be speaking alongside top industry folks, Bill Faith, Pace Morby, Atticus LeBlanc, and others, giving you real business insight, not hype, just strategy. I've said as long as you treat real estate as a business, there can be a place for it in your wealth portfolio. You can access your free ticket at roymatlockjr.com.
The Chris Hand Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
1037, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Available everywhere. iHeart, TuneIn, the FM dial. Super Talk TV, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. Audio that you hear on your radio. It adds a little bit of an element to the show. We think so. We tend to like it. I tend to like it.
Just a little bit. I like it. It's pretty.
Plus, we jump in during the commercials from time to time and do more exclusive content on the stream. Yeah. We like to double our efforts.
Keep it interesting.
Leftist agitators are also thinking about doubling their efforts. You like that? Oh, yeah. That's radio segue gold.
Look at that. Smooth.
Who does it? Who does it better than me? I'm the most humble and the best at radio segues on the station.
Anecdotally, the most humble man.
Anecdotally.
Stories from Chris Ann.
So socialists are planning to replicate Minneapolis chaos to combat ICE sweeps in New York City. Paid agitators doing paid agitator things. New York City socialists are marshaling an army of more than 4,000 activists to form rapid response brigades to disrupt federal immigration enforcement in an expected crackdown on illegal aliens in America's largest city, Breitbart reports. Now, I've seen the videos of this. You've probably seen the videos as well of these rapid response brigades in action in Minneapolis, where they're following around ICE agents until they get yelled at. And then they pick up their radio and they go back into headquarters like, breaker, I got a license plate here. It's a Honda CRV. Uniform. Logo. You know, they do the whole plate. Oh, stand down, stand down. The ICE agent told us to stop following us, or he would pepper spray me. Stand down, stand down. Which direction were they headed? Oh, they were headed west. They were headed west. So we're gonna get some of that in New York. It's exciting times. According to a report in the Sunday New York Post, Mayor Mamdani's comrades with the Democrat Socialists of America revealed their disruptive mission against immigration, customs, and enforcement activity during a monthly meeting earlier in the week of the Chinese Communist Party-linked People's Forum. As we've seen in other cities, we still do anticipate a big wave of federal immigration enforcement, a DSA later, Democrat Socialist of America leader, who only identified herself as Marina, told the crowd of more than 100 members, according to the Post. She added, it can be confusing. It can be scary. It can be kind of uncertain what's happening in New York right now. But we want to be on our front foot if and when it does. It is. Listen, there are few things scarier to me than getting child rapists off the street and gang members and murderers and illegal aliens. Terrifying. Will someone think of the illegal alien child sex offender, please? The Democrat Socialists of America are. The New York City chapter is training 2,000 DSA members and another 2,000 non-members, along with activating 50 additional trainers, according to the Post. They love their trainees. The group is also beefing up staffing of its ICE hotline to operate around the clock. The group apparently is looking for multilingual volunteers as well to deal with migrants who have arrived illegally from distant countries and settled in New York. If you can speak Pular, if you speak Creole, if you speak Fulani, come find us, urged the leader. We really want you on the team. The group did not estimate how much the operation will cost, saying, Georgia's got it. No, I'm just kidding. They didn't say that, but that's kind of what I implied. George Soros, he'll fund that. But they say it's going to be, it's member funded. The organization asked for donations several times during the 2-hour meeting, according to the report. The majority of the crowd, mostly white, Gen Z socialists, said they were first-timers galvanized by the death of Renee Nicole Good. You know, the mom who just dropped her kid off and then was in the wrong place at the wrong time, according to leftist narratives. Like operations by agitators in Minneapolis, DSA plans include showing up en masse to reported ICE sites, employing loud whistles, and impeding immigration agents trying to enforce federal law. The DSA has been recruiting protesters by canvassing immigrant neighborhoods that include Chinatown, Bushwick, and Jackson Heights. It has not been revealed if and when the Department of Homeland Security would launch a massive immigration enforcement sweep with thousands of agents in New York, as it has in Minneapolis. As part of a nationwide effort, ICE has been announcing the arrests of the worst criminal illegal aliens from across the country. We have detailed that here. It's not just New York. It's not just Minneapolis. Also happening in Virginia. We got a new governor in Virginia, new Attorney General Jay Jones, new lieutenant governor. And upon being sworn in as governor just a couple days ago, Abigail Spanberger, the radical leftist, she immediately repealed Glenn Youngkin's order requiring law enforcement cooperate with immigration agents. This is how that played out.
And this executive order rescinds executive order number 47. State and local law enforcement should not be required to divert their limited resources to enforce federal civil immigration laws. It is a responsibility of federal law enforcement. Virginia state and local law enforcement officers must be able to focus on their core responsibilities, investigating crime and community policing.
Oh, stunning and brave. Everybody clapped. Why would you do this? Why? You're putting American citizens last. You're putting illegal aliens first. This is disgusting behavior. But it's not exactly shocking coming out of the liberal hellhole state of Virginia. The Virginia Speaker of the House, Don Scott, he had this to say about Renee Nicole Good. They've been absolutely radicalized in the state of Virginia. This is their Speaker of the House, Don Scott, on what happened in Minneapolis.
As a black man here, and we're celebrating MLK Day, and he spent a lot of time protesting. We have a president that is harassing and tear gassing, and he shot a unarmed white lady in the face in America, and we are justifying it, and they are justifying it. And so right now we have no choice, I think, but to push back against the atrocities that are being committed by Donald Trump and his.
It's atrocities, you guys. It's atrocities. Remember, it was just a mom who dropped her kid off at school. She was unarmed. She has an extensive history with Ice Watch, and she's absolutely a leftist agitator. But she was unarmed, and that shouldn't have happened. Okay, well, she did drive her vehicle directly at an ICE agent, hitting him with the vehicle, resulting in internal bleeding. Well, she's a woman driving, well, you know? I'm surprised they haven't gone there yet with the narrative spin. She didn't know. She thought it was in reverse. It's like, no. She played stupid games. She won stupid prizes. It's a tragedy that it happened, but a tragedy of her own making. And I do feel for the kids. But saying that Trump shot an unarmed white lady in the face doesn't really tell the whole story. But that's Virginia Speaker of the House, Don Scott. Unrelated, but just another exclamation point on how insane the state of Virginia has gotten. And I wonder how our founding fathers would feel about it. Abigail Spanberger got sworn in a couple days ago. So did Jay Jones, the attorney general, who wanted Republican kids to die in their parents' arms because that would move them on gun violence and reforms. They also swore in their lieutenant governor, Ghazala Hashimi, and she was sworn into office on a Quran. So it's a different place. It's a different place. Virginia's first Muslim lieutenant governor sworn in on a Quran. I think that it's also important to point out Islam is a political system that masquerades as a religion. And that's the issue that we have with Islam. It's political in nature. We can talk about that more another day. Democrats have been in power for little under 3 days. They've also already introduced a bill to ban the hand counting of election ballots. I think the left is going to look at Virginia and be like, look at what we did. Look at how great it is. We also need to highlight Virginia as conservatives and say it took them no time at all to go completely backwards from the things Glenn Youngkin was doing that was making the state successful. And it'll happen in your state too if Democrats gain power. It'll happen in the country if Democrats gain power. We need to fight as hard as we possibly can when it comes to elections. Like you need to get involved, find a group, find a Turning Point Action, find something. Get in the weeds and knock on doors and make telephone calls. Just because you're in Tennessee and it's solidly red doesn't mean that you don't have influence in another state. Like, figure it out, because this could be coming to a state near us. Democrats, Geiger Capital posted this. Democrats have been in power less than 3 days, and they've already introduced a bill to ban hand counting of election ballots. And this is HB 968. Election results, counting machine-readable ballots, requires ballot scanner machines to be used to count machine-readable ballots and prohibits such ballots from being counted by hand for any reason or purpose not specifically authorized by law. It's a little weird. That's a little weird. Just to the north of Virginia, we have the wonderful state of Maryland. It's a home of Maryland man Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Americans are actually pissed about the comments from Chris Van Hollen over the weekend, where he declared war on ICE agents, saying that it's the ICE agents that are breaking the law, not not the illegal aliens? Is that
What's happening right now is the ICE agents are the ones breaking the law, not the peaceful protesters. So I believe we should not be funding an ICE operation that is completely lawless.
Yeah, it's completely lawless as they get pedophiles and sex offenders and murderers and gang members off the streets. Protesters are doing absolutely nothing wrong. Maybe Senator Van Hollen should be more worried about his state of Maryland than he is about ICE agents. Maybe, just maybe, he should be asking ICE agents to come to his state of Maryland to give him a hand. I saw a story on the news just a couple days ago, made me absolutely sick. You had 4 MS-13 illegal aliens, and they have now been detained because, well, they got themselves some machetes and they hacked a 14-year-old boy to death. So while Senator Van Hollen is worried about the lawlessness of ICE, I would say, sir, what about the lawlessness of the illegal aliens in your state of Maryland?
Pictured on your screen. The fourth is underage and police are not publicly identifying them. All are in custody. This investigation dates back to early November after local officers and FBI agents found a body while searching for a missing person at Indian Creek Stream Valley Park in College Park, Maryland. Our Felicia Ashley reports police say the murders appear to be gang-related.
14-year-old Jefferson Amaya Ayala of D.C. was last seen alive here near this street in the Brightwood neighborhood in Northwest D.C. Investigators say that he was killed the same day that he went missing back in August. 7 News learned from investigators that the teen was lured to the Indian Creek Stream Valley Park in College Park. Saturday, law enforcement announced 4 suspects were arrested. The Prince George's County Police Department charged 4 suspects with the murder of Amaya Ayala. 18-year-old Jose Merlos Mahano, 21-year-old Alan Josea Garcia Padilla, and 19-year-old William Quiera Gutierrez. All 3 are from D.C. A 4th suspect is a 17-year-old from Hyattsville. In November, the FBI, MPD, and PG County Police were looking for Amaya Ayala in this park. Instead, they found his body. The medical examiner ruled his death a homicide and found multiple injuries on the 14-year-old's body.
Is Senator Van Hollen worried about the crime that's happening in his state because of the illegal aliens? Does he have any issue with that? Of course not. He'd rather travel to El Salvador to sip margaritas with Kilmar Abrego Garcia and scream about how what ICE is doing is illegal. Yet ICE is on the streets every single day, putting their lives on the line, not just when it comes to these illegal aliens, but these radical leftists who feel emboldened by the Democrats. Senator Chris Van Hollen needs to take a seat. A lot of these Democrat politicians need to take a seat. We have an opportunity to get rid of a lot of them come November, but we're going to need an all-hands-on-deck effort to get stories like this out and amplify them, be it on social media or just in talking with your friends and your coworkers. But we need to highlight this kind of stuff because the left are going to highlight their version of the story, and it's not the reality. 1051 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at Better Water LLC. We talk about these guys all the time. You should call these guys today and say, hey, Chris Hand told me what might be in my water: sulfur, iron, chlorine, bacteria, E. coli. And he also told me that you guys would test my water for free, and they will. Now, if your water comes back with some of that nasty stuff, Better Water offers a range of options. They've been doing this work for 55 years. These guys are the absolute pros. The people that work at Better Water stay with the company on average 17 years. Like the guys know exactly what they're doing. And if you got sulfur, iron, chlorine, bacteria, E. coli in your water, well, then they're going to come to you with some reverse osmosis, some specialized filters, UV lights. There's a range of options, and and Better Water has you covered. They're already treating the water at the local coffee shops and the hospitals around town. Again, these guys are the pros, based in Smyrna, but they can get the junk out of your tap all over Middle Tennessee. 615-355-6063, 615-355-6063, or find them online, betterwater.com.
There used to be some common truths in America. Republicans and Democrats used
Top brass in the Trump administration over in Davos, Switzerland, trying to smooth things over with Europe over President Trump's desire to take or acquire Greenland. We'll tell you about it at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Ken, are you big hype for the snow this weekend?
I'm big hype for the snow, brother Chris.
I can't wait.
Looks like I might be doing the news from my breakfast nook.
Let's go. My wife said she's going to get me some mittens.
I'm going to have my wife bring me a plate of bacon every 5 minutes.
You got it made. You got it made, Ken Weaver.
She won't agree to it.
Oh.
That's why you call it a breakfast nook.
I'd have to fight Fritz off too. But yeah, man. I mean, it's looking like we could get It's looking like we could get at least 3 inches, brother Chris.
So everybody keeps making fun of me for using Apple weather, so that's what I'm going with.
Apple.
The text line. The text line is so angry with me, but I prefer the Apple weather totals and predictions much more than Ken Weaver's. Ken Weaver's in there saying 3 inches. That's small potatoes. We don't need that.
That's not big hype.
No, 3 inches is a lot, though.
No, it's not. It's not worth it. What we need is the Apple weather prediction of 14 to 17 inches on Saturday.
Goodness.
And 7 to 9 inches on Sunday.
I'm going to have to look up that Apple weather.
That's what I need in my life. That's what the people want. Not you people on the text line, but just the people in general. So we're doing it for the kids.
Yeah.
We're doing it for the kids. My daughter keeps texting me. She's very upset because she's got a big play that she's in.
Yeah.
At the Art Center of Cannon County. She's Amaryllis in The Music Man.
Yeah.
And she's nervous that opening weekend is going to be kaput because of the snow.
Oh. Well,
So,
see there, Brother Chris.
I told her, just tell people not to buy tickets for Saturday and Sunday and really focus on the Friday show. Everything will be fine. We got a lot to talk about. My friend Josh Tifo is in studio. He's the senior director for Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. Are you excited about the snow? You fly all over the place. Is this going to mess up plans for you?
So it's perfect because I actually don't have to fly anywhere any of the days we're going to get snow. I love that we're getting a ton of snow Saturday and Sunday, and then it's probably going to stay cold enough to all stay on the ground until Wednesday afternoon. And here's why I'm the most thrilled, because we have a 4-year-old daughter, and deep down inside, I love playing in the snow once a year as much as a 4-year-old. Just once a year, then I'm good until the next year. So we're just going to be out playing in the snow all the time for several days. So I know it would be pretty bad if I had some big event out of state.
Yeah.
But I don't, thank God. So let it snow.
Bring on the milk sandwiches because it's gonna be a snowed in weekend. So Josh's gonna be here. I want to talk about midterms and the strategy going into midterms. I mean, it's critical to not have a lame duck presidency that we rack up some wins in the midterms. How do we do that? Where do we go? What does the polling look like? We'll talk about all that and more on the way with the Senior Director for Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action, Josh Tifo. A lot to get to, a little bit of time. Tifo Tuesday. Hang out with us at Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, says America's relationship with Europe has never been closer, despite threats from President Trump about additional tariffs on EU countries that are refusing to back an American takeover of Greenland. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers with the latest.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in Davos insisting the U.S. has a good trade relationship with European allies, saying relations have never been closer. But there has been major pushback from European countries after the president threatened new tariffs on some NATO countries in response to their support for Greenland. The president says the U.S. needs to acquire Greenland for national security. Bessent's message to NATO allies:
what I am urging everyone here to do is sit back, take a deep breath, and let things play out.
Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Yeah, President Trump shared a message he says was from French President Macron, which said that he, quote, does not understand what you are doing on Greenland. In his speech at the World Economic Forum, Macron said the U.S. threats to impose more tariffs on countries who challenge the takeover of Greenland won't help the global economy thrive. Right now in Minnesota, another citizen says he was wrongly arrested by ICE agents. This is ABC's Matt Rivers with that person's side of the story.
Agents storming this home. The family of the man living there says they terrorized his 5-year-old grandson and never asked for ID before pulling him out in his underwear into the bitter cold, releasing him an hour later. DHS says the man, a U.S. citizen, lived with 2 sex offenders they are still looking for. But his family disputes that, saying he only lives with relatives and none are sex offenders.
And the Department of Homeland Security says it has arrested more than 10,000 criminal illegal immigrants in Minneapolis in recent weeks. Officials report 3,000 of those arrests happened in just the last 6 weeks. Department of Homeland Security says those taken into custody include individuals accused of violent crimes, including murder and sexual assault. Local leaders have pushing back on those claims.
A bipartisan group of U.S. senators is pushing to delay the federal ban on hemp-derived THC products. The new proposal would postpone enforcement for 2 more years, giving lawmakers time to craft a long-term regulatory plan. The original ban is set to take effect this November. Industry leaders say the delay is critical to prevent major economic disruption. And on Sunday, the staff at NOAA's Space Weather Prediction Center spotted a massive explosion on the solar surface.
The aurora borealis. It all starts with the ejection of charged particles from the sun.
There's a chance that some of those charged particles come into Earth's atmosphere at the poles.
Astronomer Jason Jakowicz says that's what gives us the northern lights. Twice in the past few months, the solar storm has been strong enough to give people across the lower 48 states a chance to see the phenomenon.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Joined in studio by Josh Tifo, Senior Director for Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action. Excited to have you in. I feel like we got a lot to talk about. We never have a shortage of things to talk about with the Trump administration, but we got some stuff today, man. I want to get your thoughts on how we look heading into midterms. There's rumors, according to news publications, I use it with air quotes, like Axios, the Trump administration's getting a little bit cold feet on the optics of mass deportations. What's your take? Do they need to slow down to win, or is now the time to step on the gas? I'm just full disclosure, I'm firmly in the latter. But your thoughts?
There's a reason why you're firmly on the latter. It's because you are the voice of the grassroots here in Tennessee, and you're talking to the everyday voters who actually comprise the Republican Party. And these people, they don't think Trump is doing enough. And I give Trump a lot of credit. He's been very aggressive. His second term has been one of the most effective modern day Republican presidential terms, but Congress is not doing enough. I know you asked me off air, you said, do you think there's any chance that that we get the SAVE Act done, that they get rid of the filibuster? Highly doubt it. I highly doubt it because there are so many weak members of Congress who are essentially just spokespeople for the corporate lobby. I hope I'm wrong. If you're a congressman and you're listening and you say, Josh, you're wrong, actually, I'm going to do everything I can to end the filibuster and pass the SAVE Act, I'm all for it. And we'll celebrate you at Turning Point Action. We'll love you and we'll give you a national platform. I am concerned because most members of Congress are very weak. They do not care about the grassroots. And it's not even that they just don't care. A lot of them don't even know. They insulate themselves from the grassroots. They go to D.C. and they go to their little charity parties and they hang out with lobbyists. I was joking with one of my friends the other day what it looks like to actually day-to-day be a congressman in the United States. How, yes, you have to show up for votes and sometimes they miss those. Almost all of your time is spent fundraising and wooing corporate lobbyists so that you can raise enough money so that you can actually come back again, because over 90% of these races are decided by whoever raises more money. And that responsibility actually falls back on us as grassroots Americans. The only reason why 90+% of these congressional races are decided by whoever raises more money is because if you raise more money, you run more ads, and you can just win money with ads, especially attack ads against your opponents, especially from outside groups, because most Americans don't know and don't care who their member of Congress is. So unless you can ratchet up that civic engagement, then corporate corrupt interests will control Congress. Because you can even be a good guy. You can be a good guy and you go to Congress and you want to change things, and you realize that if you don't play the game, unless you have some type of big outside group like Turning Point directly, explicitly, loudly helping you, then it's very tough to get reelected. You can do the right things and the corporate lobbyists will crush you, because the corporate lobbyists, they control most of the leadership apparatus.
You brought up an interesting point about being insulated from the grassroots and how, a lot of the grassroots folks want more when it comes to the mass deportations. But you're seeing cold feet from those independent moderates, those middle of the road guys who obviously knew there's no decision between Biden or Harris or Donald Trump, right? Like, that was easy. But as we head towards midterms and they're looking at this and they're looking at polling, which is a bigger group to lose? Like, which group do you need to keep in under the umbrella more? Is it the hardcore conservative who is getting blackpilled because nothing is being done, or is it the normie who thinks that you guys are going way too hard on mass deportations and creating chaos?
So it's obviously the first group, because the first group, far and away, are the courageous, bold Americans who are the fabric of the Republican Party. These are the people who got Trump elected. These are most of the people who are politically active within the GOP in all states, even in blue states, even in purple states. And also, it's easy to lead the normies because they fight you, and then 2 months later they call you and they're like, oh, actually, I do think the mass deportations are great because X, Y, and Z. And eventually they follow the pack. So Trump just needs to be the alpha dog he is, and he needs to lead the Republican Party. He needs to do the tough things that the grassroots gave him a mandate to do. Mass deportations, which should not slow down, they should escalate. I love that we've gotten rid of, at this point, kind of a liberal estimate, a few million illegals from this country over the past year and a half, a lot of those self-deportations. By the way, I love what Kristi Noem has done, running the ads and talking about downloading the app and self-deporting and all that. They're just advertising the idea of we can knock at 2 a.m. or you can leave now. I think that's a very effective tactic.
Do you think that when they're talking about recalibrating what they're doing, one of those things should be pulling back on the DHS ICE social media presence with the rock and roll music and the kicking in the doors, guns blazing? Do you think that turns off normies? Should we be doing this operation a bit more in silence as opposed to broadcasting it on social media? Or is that effective?
I think that we should broadcast it even more. And I know there are a lot of people who would fight me on that. We should broadcast it even more because it's happening. And here's why we should broadcast it, because of what I just talked about a couple of minutes ago. We want a family who is breaking federal law living here illegally. We want them to see that video and say, you know what? self-deporting next month actually sounds like a good idea. So you are just juicing your numbers. If the goal is to get as many illegal immigrants out of this country as possible, as quickly as possible, especially since we have a catastrophic housing shortage in the country, then do you think it's a good or bad thing to have social media viral videos bouncing around the internet that these illegals see and say, wow, I should self-deport next week? Is that a good or a bad thing?
Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think we should focus on efficacy, not the opinions of weak people, because guess what? The weak people end up following you when you win. And in fact, they try to act like it's their idea.
Is the strength of the Democrat Party overplayed right now? They're acting like they're in this place of strength, yet we have new polling numbers out from the Wall Street Journal. I'm going to play a clip that shows basically we lead in every major category.
Poll. Who's best to handle? Immigration, Republicans in Congress, 44, Democrats, 33. Economy, 38-32. Tariffs, 36-34. I mean, it's one poll, but it shows you that maybe it's not moving as much as people think it is.
So we got Republicans +6 on economy, +2 on tariffs, +5 on foreign policy, +11 on immigration. Is it overblown that the Democrats are coming from a place of strength?
So frame those stats from a different perspective. Everyday Americans don't trust the Republicans, and they really don't trust the Democrats. That is what is causing so many of them to withdraw from politics. That is what is causing so many of them to listen to these doom and gloom black pill podcasters who are hating on Trump, saying that he's not enough, saying that both parties are the same. So yes, we're doing less bad than the Democrats, but we're still doing pretty bad. If we control everything, we should be aggressively passing legislation that coincides with the mandate that, everyday people gave Trump. Trump won the popular vote. If you asked me 2 years ago if there was any chance Donald Trump would win the popular vote, I'd say, yeah, maybe 2-3%. And he won the popular vote. So actually, our problem is that we're not doing enough. And that's not Trump's fault. Trump is doing everything he can and more. J.D. Vance is doing everything he can and more. Marco Rubio is doing everything he can and more. And then some. Marco has like 4 jobs.
Yeah.
And I'm wildly thrilled with all of them. And I'm wildly thrilled with J.D. I've already endorsed him for president. The problem here is Congress. And thank God we were able to get the big, beautiful bill done. I know there were a lot of compromises we had to make. Knowing the composition of Congress and the moral degeneracy that we see within that body of representatives, to get that bill done was a tremendous accomplishment. That was the best case scenario of what that bill could look like. And it was a great legislative accomplishment by Trump and his team.
So you say that the problem is Congress, but if you look online, a lot of the ire is directed at the Department of Justice. Is Pam Bondi doing enough? And how do we help her step up a bit?
It's an interesting question. I know that a lot of people blame Pam. A lot of people blame other members of the Trump administration. A lot of people blame the president himself because the president is ultimately responsible as the leader of the movement, as the commander-in-chief. There are a lot of people in the normie category who are mad at the DOJ because they're deporting people at all. And then there are a lot of people in our camp, in the grassroots camp, who are mad at the DOJ for not deporting people fast enough. We need to act with a little bit of patience towards the DOJ. They have a very tough situation. So they are trying to deport illegals who obviously do not want to be deported. Many of them are being protected by criminal entities. And they're also being protected by local and state law enforcement in some cases. So this is a tough situation. It's going to take many, many years for us to take these people out of the country who are living here illegally. And that needs to happen so that we can move towards a merit-based immigration system that would really be very healthy for America, but also healthy for the world. We should be the New York Yankees, the LA Dodgers of the world. If you have some type of extraordinary skill to bring to the table, if you're an amazing AI engineer, if you're a superstar baseball player, if you're a world-class chess player, if you are a carpentry expert, if there's something you have to bring to the table, you should be able to easily present your skills to the United States of America and say, I want to become an American. I want America to be the winner's circle of the world. You can't do that until you eliminate the tens of millions of illegal immigrants who are here and clean up our ridiculous immigration system, which does not reward merit, but instead actually rewards the corruption of corporations. I mean, you look at how the whole H-1B visa system works. It's all just corporations giving a bunch of money to the parties, giving a bunch of money to candidates themselves, and then trying to game the H-1B visa system to bring in non-American workers so that they can pay them less than they would have to pay an American worker.
And with that comes non-American children, and birther tourism has been a big topic of discussion. Peter Schweizer wrote a big article about how birther tourism could land us 1 million Chinese voters by 2028 because of individuals that come into the country, have a baby, then bring the child back to China. What does that look like, and how do we fix that?
So the first thing you do is you stop the bleeding. So we can complain about what already happened, or we can say, how do we stop this from happening in the future? And Trump needs to go absolutely scorched earth to end birthright citizenship. You look at the legal justification, everything in the amendment that actually granted birthright citizenship was not supposed to be extrapolated to allow an enemy of the United States to fly women into our country to magically get citizenship and then bring them back to the enemy nation so that they can come back and vote. That's absolutely insane. I doubt there was one member of Congress when that was passed who actually intended for that to happen. Trump needs to go scorched earth, but also Congress needs to go scorched earth. And here is why a lot of those things that Trump needs to get done are not getting done. He doesn't have the backing of Congress. Even when he does something kind of aggressive, like going after the Fed for rather obvious corruption, when they want billions and billions of dollars for a renovation, which doesn't make any sense. And he understands this. I mean, he's somebody who made billions of dollars in the real estate world. You have, the head of the Senate. The head of the Senate's coming out and saying, oh, I don't know, there better be something. He has this tone of condemnation towards Donald Trump. I mean, we're not even backing Donald Trump when he goes after somebody who's probably obviously doing something corrupt at the Fed. I'm not surprised that we're not getting birthright citizenship done.
Is the problem in Congress Thune or is it Johnson?
So the problem is almost everyone. And I don't know Thune and Johnson personally, and they could be great guys. They could be bad guys. I honestly don't know. But you are between a rock and a hard place when you are representing a body that is primarily composed of corrupt people. So you could become the next House Majority Leader or House Speaker or Senate Majority Leader. And if you get there and you realize that most of the people you're representing are bought and paid for by corporate interests and special interests, a lot of them are being blackmailed for personal things that they've done, et cetera, there's only so much you can do. Like, we could be hanging out after session one night and you're like, Josh, I want to get this and this and this and this done, but there's no way I can get it done. Like, man, this job sucks. So I don't know if they're good guys or not. Sometimes they do great things, sometimes they don't. But you have to change the composition of the Senate. You have to change the composition of Congress, and you need to drive out those special interests. One way that you can, it wouldn't fix everything, but it'd make it a lot better, is instituting term limits. If you institute term limits, it's a lot tougher for corporate lobbyists to essentially develop assets in the Senate, develop assets in the House, and just throw tons of money at them legally and illegally, knowing that they then will have to be loyal for the rest of their career. That's the way that these lobbyists think. These lobbyists think, okay, if I can get this guy reelected, and then I make sure he gets this, I make sure he gets that, like, he could be in for 20, 30 years. Like, that's a great return on my investment. You break the whole return on investment model for corporate lobbyists if they know that that person's not going to be in there for 30 years if they buy them.
How do you get anybody to agree to the term limits, though? Because you're essentially saying, hey, your career path is no longer a career path.
Yeah, it's almost impossible logistically to do. So you need a president who's overwhelmingly popular with the American people, who just demands it and demands it and demands it and demands it, and also a sizable number of people who run on it in the party primary and win, showing that the American people are behind it. It is almost impossible to accomplish politically, but we should go for it anyway. I mean, it was almost impossible for Roe v. Wade to be overturned, and we saw that in our lifetime.
Yep.
So, I mean, I serve the God who created the sun and the moon and the stars. Our job is to obey. Our job is to trust him. And just because something looks politically impossible doesn't mean that we shouldn't try it.
We're talking with Josh Tifo, Senior Director for Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. We got a lot more to cover. Hang out with us at 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Winter is here. It's for real now. You feel it. It's not a 60-degree day where I'm telling you winter is here. We got snow coming. And with the snow, I got to ask you, is your home system ready for that stress? Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is here to make you stay warm and worry-free. Right now, if you need a new HVAC system, call them. 0% financing for 18 months, complimentary UV light treatment with any new system install, and a free 5-year labor upgrade. That's a $750 value. Maybe you're good on the heat, but the plumbing needs some work. Same 0% financing, plus a free 50-gallon water heater with select repipes or $600 off if it doesn't apply. Indoor air quality, always a priority. 15% off UV lights when you book a premium duct cleaning. And don't forget, all month long, you buy one Beehive Club membership, you get one for free. So you can give it to a friend, a neighbor, a family member. Just call the guys at Busy Bee. They'll take care of you. 615-775-7833. 615-775-7833. Or find them online, busybeehvac.com.
Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell already has a challenger. Details at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Don't get me excited, Ken Weaver. I can't handle much more excitement. We got snow coming this weekend and now a challenger for Mayor Freddie.
Already.
Is it a Republican or is it a Democrat?
I think it's a Democrat.
Oh, come on.
Hey, we can win him over.
Yeah, well, Josh said we'll win him. We'll win him over. It's 11:26 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A couple people throwing in some questions on the text line for you, Josh. If you got any questions for Josh, jump in the text line 615-737-9986. 5320 texted in and said, "Okay, how do we get rid of lobbyists?"
So the best thing we can do, and there are a lot of people who would want to engage in a bare knuckles brawl with me over this. A lot of Republicans disagree with me on this. We should make voting remote. We have incredible biometric technology that would allow us to do this very securely with, like, you got to scan your eyeball, you got to scan your thumb. Like, we can 100% make sure it's the representative voting. And you make voting remote and require the member of Congress to spend almost all of their time in the district where they are spending quality time and also hearing the opinions of the people in their district. So right now it is
so for making voting remote for the member of Congress.
For the member of Congress.
Okay.
So instead of sending Matt Van Epps to spend a bunch of his time in D.C. and not see his family and get harassed by corporate lobbyists offering him things all day long, he spends most of his time right here with us, going to GOP meetings and meeting at churches and going to schools and actually gaining a deep understanding of what the district wants from him on every issue in real time. I want him spending time with grassroots leaders in his district 2 hours before he goes online to vote on some big bill. Imagine how that would change everything. As a lobbyist, it would make your job so much less efficient. You can't just show up at the Hay Adams and show up at 4 charity events and try to corrupt 52 members of Congress in one day. It would be much more arduous to attempt that. You'd have to fly around the country because the people are actually spending time with their families and spending time with the people that they're supposed to represent.
I actually like that a lot. So decentralized DC.
Yeah, tremendously.
Why wouldn't they do that?
So I know a lot of Republicans and Democrats have opposed this in the past, especially Republicans. So if you're a traditionalist, you don't like the idea of taking away everybody coming together and debating and everything that they think happens. I think that doesn't really happen anymore. Instead, they all get together and they're easily preyed upon by lobbyists. And they're also very easy for leadership to reach and demand certain things from. And it creates this environment where you show up and in DC, you're spending a lot of your time courting lobbyists. You're spending a lot of your time pleasing donors. You're spending a lot of your time meeting with leadership staff to get your marching orders. Instead, I want these people spending their time getting their marching orders from the district. It'd be very tough to get done because most powerful members of Congress on the right and on the left would immediately oppose it because it shatters the whole power structure and returns that power to everyday people, because everyday people will be the ones actually spending most of their time with their member of Congress. It also adds a tremendous amount of social cost to voting against the wishes of your district. Because you have to see those people all the time because you're spending almost all of your time in the district.
Yeah, and there's a few congressmen here in Tennessee that don't spend any time in the district. I think that would make a big difference. Larry texted in. He wants to know, he wants you to know that he thinks you're wrong on term limits. Here's why. Term limits mean that more people will run for Congress, and it is when they're trying to get elected that they're the most vulnerable to being influenced by financial donations. Your thoughts?
So the problem with that line of logic is that they're actually the easiest to corrupt when they get to DC and they're actually voting. So yes, there are special interests who try to corrupt people when they're running, and that's a problem. But when they actually get there is when leadership, when corporate lobbyists, when kind of a lot of the big guns are there to try to corrupt. And a lot of them don't even try to do that until they know that the person's won anyway. So yes, there are corruption problems with campaign financing, but most of it actually occurs when you're there. And they'll show up and they'll say, this is what you're going to do if you want any shot at getting reelected. So Larry is right. The bad guys use money to control most of these people, but most of that happens in D.C. with the threat of unless you want to be a one-term congressman, you're going to do this today.
We're hanging out with Senior Director for Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action, Josh Tifo. If you got any questions, you can text him in, 615-737-9986. I know you got some thoughts on Greenland. We'll get to those on the way as well. Right now, though, we're going to stop down for the headlines on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, tracking the potential for snow in Middle Tennessee. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Election 2027, Nashville Councilmember Joy Stiles has officially announced she's running for mayor in the 2027 election. She becomes the first candidate to enter the race, setting the stage early. Stiles says Nashville needs, quote, a fighter, points to her record of inclusive leadership. She currently represents District 32 in Antioch. Based on available public records, Joy Stiles has not been identified with a political party in her Metro Council role because Nashville Metro Council elections are officially nonpartisan. However, the endorsement project has Joy Stiles identified as a Democrat and has endorsed multiple Democratic candidates. Metro Council votes tonight on a $15 million state-funded downtown public safety grant. Opponents, like Nashville Democrat State Rep Afton Bain, say it focuses too much on more surveillance rather than root causes of crime and public safety challenges.
Tools do not prevent harm, address root causes, or create the kind of safety that Nashville residents, workers, and our unhoused neighbors or tourists actually deserve. So I pose this plan because it doubles down on a failed model.
Well, Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell seems to endorse it. The money would go to new cameras, an armored police vehicle, and a mobile command post for downtown public safety. And turning to sports, the Tennessee Titans reportedly closing in on a deal to make 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh their next head coach. Reports say Saleh spent yesterday in Nashville, and both sides were impressed enough to move forward. If finalized, he would take over a Titans team coming off a 3-14 year and looking to develop young quarterback Cam Ward. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Zero Res Nashville. I'm already envisioning what my carpets are going to look like after this weekend. I hope that we get a lot of snow and it's just water, but if it's just a little bit of snow, we're going to bring in mud. And those kids are never going to take their boots off in the garage, even though I've said to them 10 times, please take off your boots in the garage. They're going to say, okay. And I'm going to say, why are the boots on in the house? And then the carpets are going to take the brunt of that. Normally, I'd be stressed out. You can hear it in my voice. Normally, I'd be stressed out, but I'm going to call Zero Res. I'm actually going to book it ahead of time. I'm going to schedule online, zeroresnashville.com, and say, I need you guys, need the exclusive ZR water. I need you to clean my carpets with no harsh chemicals, no residue. I want them to look clean. I want them to stay clean longer. You're the only guys that can do it. So I'm going to call Zero Res today. You should do the exact same thing. 615-535-9376. 615-535-9376. You can also book online, zeroresnashville.com. 11:37, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? Chris Hand. Show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. You can listen to us on iHeart, TuneIn, the FM dial. Super Talk TV is also up and running. You can watch the show on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch also, but YouTube and Rumble are the big ones. Hit like, hit subscribe. Josh Tifo's in here, Senior Director for Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action, Tifo Tuesdays. I've never seen you as excited as I've seen you. When it comes to Greenland, you the 51st state. Is that what we're going to get? Is it going to be the 51st state?
So I don't think it'll be the 51st state, but I do believe we'll annex it. I do believe it will become a United States protectorate. And I absolutely love that Trump is doing something that most presidents don't do in the modern era. He is thinking generationally. So you look at how a lot of news outlets, even conservative news outlets, are kicking and screaming and fighting, saying, oh, he's going to wreck the stock market. Oh, we have this horrible trade war coming because of Trump and his recklessness on Greenland. He is thinking, what can I do to make sure that my grandkids have a better America? He doesn't care about quarterly profits right now, relatively. He obviously cares some. But he is primarily basing his decisions on what will be a blessing to the United States in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, not 3 months, not 6 months. And yes, you need to have some focus on the here and now, on politics. We have a pretty big midterm cycle coming up. But I absolutely love that his primary care is what is best for America long term. And annexing Greenland is one of the smartest things we could do, not just for natural resources, but also when you look at what will inevitably happen geopolitically, that will either become a protectorate of China or the United States. So do you want that to be with China or do you want that to be with the United States? Denmark is sometimes rapidly, sometimes slowly declining economically. There's no way they're going to hold on to Greenland over the next several years, let alone several decades. And Trump is waking up in the morning and he's saying, my grandkids are going to live in an America that controls Greenland instead of an America that worries about Greenland because it's a huge China military base.
So you're under the impression that it would be like a U.S. Virgin Islands type territory.
That's what I think will happen. And I know a lot of that is still up in the air. I think that making sure that it's a United States protectorate would be very wise. I don't know if I would make it a state, but I'd be open to the conversation. Acting now is so wise because if we don't act now, China will act soon.
So a lot of the people that live in Greenland are socialists. So we don't necessarily want them voting in our elections. I saw something on X that I thought was pretty good. ALX, you're familiar. He works with Benny Johnson, good guy. He said, how about we just flood Greenland with about 100,000 undocumented Americans and then demand citizenship, and then they can vote in the election to become part of the United States.
I mean, that'd be a pretty effective way to do it if you're doing it by the leftist playbook. And then you bring up an important point. There are more people in Hendersonville, Tennessee, the city just north of Nashville, than there are in the entire nation of Greenland. Greenland, what is it, 56,000 people?
Is it 56 or 65? I might be dyslexic.
It's something like that. It's right around 60,000 people. So you're not dealing with a huge population mass, and I don't really care what they believe if we can create an economic situation where they live a much better life under U.S. protection. And that's all that we have to do. That's something that we can easily achieve. And Denmark will kick and scream. Europe will kick and scream. And I love the way that Trump is using tariffs to get this done because he understands the might of the United States. He understands that a lot of these nations need trade with us a lot more than we need trade with them. And he is rolling up his sleeves and taking the swings necessary so that my kids and my grandkids get to live in a much brighter future, a future where our enemy does not control Greenland.
Speaking of our enemies, World Economic Forum is happening right now. This clip just came across my desk. Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada, who has been swearing that he's going to work more with China because, you can't trust the dastardly United States. He is on the record at the World Economic Forum saying that he is going to oppose Donald Trump taking Greenland. Listen to this.
On Arctic sovereignty, we stand firmly with Greenland and Denmark and fully support their unique right to determine Greenland's future.
Stunning and brave.
Just a strong masculine delivery.
Our commitment to NATO's Article 5 is unwavering. So we're working with our NATO allies, including the Nordic-Baltic 8, to further secure the alliance's northern and western flanks, including through Canada's unprecedented investments in over-the-horizon radar, in submarines, in aircraft, and boots on the ground. Boots on the ice.
Boots on the ice.
Canada strongly opposes tariffs over Greenland and calls for focused talks to achieve our shared objectives of security and prosperity in the Arctic. On plurilateral trade, we're championing.
All right, so that's Mark Carney.
Wow, I almost fell asleep during that clip.
Prime Minister of Canada.
A master orator.
He is, they're dependent on the United States for security, but he's talking a big game, so he's going to put boots on the ice. Your thoughts?
I mean, what does that look like? And if you're Greenland, do you care? I look at this guy who's talking so tough. What do they have to offer to the people of Greenland? We have safety. We have economic prosperity. We have an entirely new future we can offer to Greenland. And I think that will become more and more popular, especially with younger residents in Greenland. I mean, these people are not dumb. They have access to the news. They know what's going on geopolitically. And do they want to be protected by Canada and Denmark, or do they want to be protected by the United States of America? And I don't care if these people are socialist or not. You know what's going to actually cure them of their socialism pretty quickly? Enjoying the prosperity of capitalism.
Right. I mean, that's the quickest way to do it.
And politically, that's not hard to do because there's only, 60,000 of them? It would be very easy to win over most of the population of Greenland to be on our side when they understand that they can have nicer things and better lives and better health care.
President Trump also heading over to Davos. He's going to be battling the globalists. I believe his speech is tomorrow, if I recall correctly. But he had this to say about Greenland as he was landing in Davos.
Hearing the Arctic from Russian threats is important to you. Why are you upset about NATO allies thinking that, more seriously in Greenland by holding military exercises?
Well, that wasn't a military. They sent a few people. And they say they sent them not for me, but to guard against Russia. But, NATO's been warning Denmark for about 20 years now, longer than that, 25 years. They've been warning Denmark about the Russian threat. And it's not only Russia, it's also China. So we'll see what happens. But let's put it this way. It's going to be a very interesting Davos. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good flight. Thank you.
I love the guy's energy. It is going to be a very interesting Davos. He says Europe has to hand over Greenland because Denmark can't protect it. Is there anything that he said there that's a lie?
I mean, that's pretty rock solid logic. And at the end of the day, I love that we have a president who actually understands the geopolitical situation, understands America's strength, understands that a lot of these European nations that love to whine and complain about the United States absolutely need us, and they should actually be getting on their hands and knees and begging us for protection and thanking us for protection. And you know what? If Trump wants to annex Greenland, he's going to annex Greenland because we're in the position of power. You can even sense it in Mark Carney's voice. He seems kind of weak. He seems kind of frail. He's saying what the globalist overlords are making him say, but it's not landing. It's not convincing anyone because he doesn't seem like he's even convinced himself that he can help this situation.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm here for taking Greenland, and I don't think that Canada should even be in the conversation. Canada should be thanking the United States for everything that we've done for them. But they have been saying that they're going to invest more with China. Do you see China getting more of a grip in Canada and then maybe taking Greenland if we don't act?
So if we don't act within the next few years, what you just said is almost certainly what's going to happen. But it's not going to happen overnight because Canada is not an impressive country. And they're also not going to let China in overnight. This is more of a threat to try to gain some type of leverage over the United States. You look at the weakness in Canadian culture and Canadian government, and China could overtake that pretty quickly, but most of the world powers don't want that. A lot of these world powers don't like China, and they're afraid of what the future could look like if China continues its international expansion in their influence. It makes me think of the Revolutionary War. If we had won a few more battles and pushed a little further north, I mean, Canada could have been the United States all along. Think about how much better that would have been for the Canadian people. Zooming out, I would absolutely love for us to consider every possible expansion opportunity over the next several decades. Greenland is a great first step. I know people joke about Venezuela and how Trump's the president of Venezuela. And obviously, that's not something that we need to be doing right now.
No, it's Rubio. Everybody knows that.
But one by one, we should entertain what it would look like if certain nations were annexed into the United States, or at least under our protection. And I know there are a lot of isolationists who absolutely despise what they're hearing right now, but China will do this. I look at the way that economic and social and political power will centralize in the in the age of AI optimized operation in business. It will get easier and easier for the people who hold the blue chip technology to walk into a nation and say, do you want to be part of this? We'll annex you and we'll give you this technology militarily. We'll annex you and we'll give you this technology economically. I see that coming. That is why China's going all in on AI development, because they want to build that future economic power.
What do you think the timeline looks like for Greenland? Because is this something that happens before the midterms? Because a lot of the moderate independent voters who, as you put it, anti-isolation, they're isolationists, they're anti-intervention. They look at this as another foreign policy thing, and we have wins that we need domestically. I've noticed that the left has pivoted away from the affordability talking point in the past couple weeks very quickly. Maybe they have a bit more low-hanging fruit with the Minneapolis stuff and with ICE. But does an operation taking Greenland take place before midterms? And if it did, does that hurt us with the moderates and the independents?
So I certainly hope that it does, and I think that it would help us, because it is something that would drastically help our economic situation here. And I believe Trump is in a position where he can message to the American people effectively on that. If we're able to annex a nation that has incredible natural resources, that shows that our international operation is all about making life better here at home. And you're correct. We have a significant affordability problem here in the country, and it's a double-edged sword. I know there are a lot of young families who just bought homes who would be in a tough place if those values dropped because the market flooded with demand. But the bigger problem is that there are millions and millions and millions of young Americans who want to live the American dream, who cannot because the home supply and home price barriers are just too great. I hate that you have to pick winners and losers, but to me, the big emergency here is that there are millions, maybe tens of millions of young Americans who believe these conservative ideas, which is a wild thing. Back when Charlie started Turning Point, back when I joined a couple years later, it was shocking to even think that maybe our ideas could become very popular in American culture. That was our hope. That was our dream. We were just trying to compete. We were trying to not get completely dominated in culture. It is now becoming popular for young Americans to get married young and have kids and buy homes, at least popular in their desires, not necessarily in their actions, because a lot of them economically cannot afford the life that they want. That, if denied, will create a tremendous amount of social angst. We'll be talking about UBI, overnight universal basic income, and it will give a tremendous economic opportunity to the left to show up with some type of national socialist message saying capitalism has failed you, become a socialist. And guess what? If you're a young man and you're dating a young woman and she follows all the trad wife influencers on Instagram and she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, she wants to homeschool her kids, she wants to live on a few acres, and you as a young man don't see any path to provide that economic future for her, then yeah, you are susceptible to becoming a socialist.
So I guess my question would be, how do you make the case that taking Greenland is going to improve the lives of those everyday Americans?
You talk about the extraordinary wealth of natural resources that are there, and that ties Trump's aggression on foreign policy with the biggest issue that people care about at home, which is I cannot afford basic things to advance my American dream. And if you help them understand, which is not a tough pitch to make, if you help them understand that what Trump's doing over there is to help you here, and you make that connection, then it's actually going to build a bond and a trust with young America and President Trump when he does some of these more adventurous things internationally.
On the natural resources in Greenland, a lot of voices will say, well, they're decades away from even extracting some of those resources. What are you hearing on the resources? How quickly could we get to those resources?
So some of them may be decades away. A lot of them will be able to extract much sooner just because of the extraordinary technology we've developed here in the United States of America. And I mean, we have some of the best minds in energy in the entire world who live in Texas, and they've done a great job of doing that here in the United States. I just think that it would help us economically, it would help us internationally, And I love that the left is starting to talk a little less about affordability. It's because they know Trump is taking it seriously. Some of the steps the Trump administration is taking, I agree with. I love that they're doing everything they can to increase home supply. I would love for Congress to take a lot more direct action there, even directly funding low-cost home builders to build more supply. I think that'd be very wise given the emergency of our social situation. I disagree with the 50-year mortgage. I think that making a young generation even more indebted is foolish and not wise. I think that creates more problems than it solves. But overall, I love most of what the Trump administration is doing. I love that at least they're taking it seriously. The only way we win is if we can create an economy in this country where everyday items are very, very inexpensive. Where you can go to the grocery store and you can get real food, and almost everyone in the country can afford it.
A Republican strategist sits you down and says, give me 3 things that we need to do before the midterms to ensure a victory. What are those 3 things?
So, number one, I would argue that Trump needs to win on Greenland and effectively message to the American people that he is taking that action and other international actions to help them here at home. That connects a lot of what the main attack against Trump right now is that he's doing all these things overseas and we're hurting here at home. I don't know if I support him. It's that simple. So we need victories overseas that we then connect to how that makes life better at home, how that helps with the affordability crisis. So that's number one. Number two, he needs to win this battle against the Fed. Trump absolutely needs to win the battle against the Fed. I know that we have a Supreme Court case coming up tomorrow that kind of tests the power of Fed independence. Hopefully that goes in our way. I think it'll be very interesting. But we need substantially lower interest rates. That fixes so much of that situation and will trigger a tremendous amount of investment to build homes overnight. I think that'll be a big blessing. And number three, he needs to keep his foot on the gas with deportations. He needs to keep his foot on the gas with really every element of the 2024 platform that gained him a popular vote win. Because at the end of the day, there are a lot of people who may temporarily be impatient with him or upset with him because they saw some viral video of a Guatemalan family crying because ICE was removing them from their home. But at the end of the day, these people are going to vote based on results. They're going to vote on whether or not they can refinance their home. They're going to vote on the price of eggs at the supermarket. They're going to vote on the price of gas at the pumps. And feelings are not going to govern most of those situations. Results will. So Trump needs to obsess over that results focus, and then the GOP needs to effectively message that. If Trump takes his foot off the gas, slows down the deportations, cools off the Greenland talk, and essentially appeases the moderates, listens to the moderates and says, okay, I'm going to be a little less extreme. Maybe we can win the midterms. He will lose the midterms in a resounding way because all these people who voted for him, all of us who voted for him and gave him this historic popular vote victory, they want to see real tangible results on extreme conservative policies. And if you do not deliver that, then they will abandon him. I'm not saying they'll vote for the left, but I'm saying a lot of the base will stay home in the midterms and the left will completely take over the House and could even maybe take over the Senate. It's unlikely due to the map. But if we ease off and stop putting our foot on the gas, then a lot of these conservative Americans, especially young Americans, first-time voters, they'll feel betrayed and they will be justified in that feeling and they will not vote.
Josh Tifo is the Senior Director for Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. Where can we keep up with you online?
At Josh Tifo, THIFAULT, at Josh Tifo, THIFAULT.
Appreciate you coming in. Appreciate the insight. As always, it is 11:55. This is Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk TV.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friend Aaron Parker over at Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville. We got gold and silver prices climbing a lot. A lot of people are actually stacking precious metals at home, but I have a question for you. Where are you putting them? Under the mattress sounds good, but that's not a security plan. Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville, they have real safes for you, including UL-rated TL and TR safes. These are tested and certified to resist tool and torch attacks. These are the kind of safes and protection that you want for your firearms, the cash, the jewelry, the precious metals. You don't want a thin box from a big store. Aaron Parker runs the business. He knows security. He does everything the old-fashioned way. He's a veteran. It's a Christian family business. They've been doing it since 2009. These guys are going to answer their phones. They're going to show up on time, and they're only going to sell products they trust in their own homes. Yes, they deliver and service Nashville and the surrounding areas. Shelbyville is not another country. I can assure you of that. It's practically in the backyard. 931-842-6445 is the number to call. 931-842-6445, or search for Parker Safes on YouTube, or go to parkersafes.com.